Walter, thank you. We'll be live as soon as the screen goes live, guys. I'd like to call to order our regular city council meeting. The date is January 17th. The time is 7:42 p.m. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Mayor Ronnie Felder,
Here.
Chairperson Douglas Lawson,
Here.
Chair Pro Tem Shirley Lanier,
Here.
Councilperson Chadwick McCoy,
Here.
Councilperson Kashama Miller Anderson,
Present.
Councilperson Julia Botel,
Here.
City Manager Jonathan Evans,
Present.
your acting city clerk Deborah Hall McCullen is present, City Attorney Don Wett.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you may proceed.
Thank you. We did have our two students here that had our Pledge of Allegiance previously. I wanted to acknowledge Willow Scott and Chase Howard, who are both residents here in Riviera Beach, both go to school here in Riviera Beach and play for the Riviera Beach Chargers and also in our cheer squad. So I wanted to acknowledge them. It is kind of late and they have school tomorrow, so I wanted to acknowledge them. We'll have a Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence led by Councilman McCoy.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any additions, deletions, or substitutions?
None from staff, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Disclosures.
Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry, Councilman McCoy?
No additions or substitutions, but I wanted to see if we can move the insurance renewal, which seems to be, I think it was 11A, which is a routine renewal that I don't think we have much latitude in really negotiating that 11A up to consent.
Thank you, Councilman McCoy. I did want to hear from Mr. Shields, but I guess we can't do consent tonight. Anything else, board members? Additions, deletions, substitutions? Disclosures from the board?
Mr. Chair,
Councilwoman Botel.
I have had conversations regarding the item about zoning. I think it's 9D.
9D, thank you. Additional disclosures? Madam Clerk, Councilman McCoy has requested we move 11A up to consent.
Okay, it has
With
been
no
noted.
objection. With no
Okay.
objection from the board.
Objection.
Motion to adopt agenda with necessary changes.
So move.
Second.
Motion been made and properly seconded. Madam Clerk?
Councilperson Botel,
Yes.
Councilperson Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Councilperson McCoy,
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Lanier, Chairperson Lawson, unanimous vote.
Thank you. All matters listed under this item are considered to be routine in action, will be taken with one motion. There's no separate discussion of these items unless the councilperson so requests, in which the event item will be removed from the general order of business and considered in its normal sequence. Would anyone like to remove an item from consent? Madam Clerk, do we have any public comments for consent?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we do have one public comment card.
Please. We have two public comment cards.
We have two public comment cards for consent.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
You're welcome.
We'll go ahead and hear from public comment.
You said do the vote.
Sorry?
Do the
We have
vote.
we have two public comments?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can we have a motion to adopt the consent?
So, second.
Motion been made and properly seconded. Public comment cards?
Mr. Fane Lozman is the first public comment card.
Thank you. Mr. Lozman?
Good evening, Thane Lozman. My comment is relative to Bruce Guyton being put on the Planning and Zoning Board. Bruce Guyton and I have quite a history going back when he was an elected official. I was responsible for the ethics complaint that resulted in Governor Scott issuing an executive order. Guyton was arrested for violating the Sunshine Law while he was an elected official in a conversation he had with Cedric Thomas. Guyton admitted that he had numerous conversations with elected officials regarding city business, and they also used email addresses to circumvent the Sunshine Law. When Guyton was initially an elected official back in the 1990s, they did investigations. They found bribery, where he accepted bribes. He was arrested for domestic violence for severely beating his girlfriend at the time. There's just a ton of negative publicity about the guy, but given his history, he's not qualified to sit on the Planning and Zoning Board. He also made some very hateful remarks regarding gays who live in the city. He just doesn't have the character, and I don't want you to take my word for it. I want you to table his nomination, go do your own research. If you can't find a lot of these items I talked about, I'll be happy to provide them to you. But Guyton, certainly, given his history as an elected official, what happened with the governor, what happened with his arrest, he should not be on the Planning and Zoning Board. Let's start there.
Thank you for comments. Madam Clerk?
That is the end of public comment. We're ready for the vote for consent. Councilperson McCoy?
Yes.
Councilperson Miller Anderson? Councilperson Botel?
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Lanier?
Yes.
Chairperson Lawson?
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Thank you. Moving on to the regular agenda, going into ordinance 8A. I'm sorry. We're actually going to go straight into public comments, being that it's 7:30 now. We're going to just get public comments done. Ms. Hall, how many public comment cards do we have tonight?
We have 11 public comment cards for general public comment.
I don't want to keep our residents here too late, so that we will go through the public comment. Public comment shall begin at 7:30 unless there's no further business of the city council, which in the event it shall begin sooner. In addition, if any item is considered at 7:30, then comments from the public shall begin immediately after the item is concluded. City council has adopted rules of decorum. Please govern yourselves accordingly. Madam Clerk, public comments.
Okay, we have Doretta Paulk, Cindy March, and Winston Russell.
If you've heard your name, if you guys could please line up behind the podium. Mr. Retta Polk, you're up.
Cindy March, Doretta Polk, Cindy March, and Winston Russell.
Mr. Russell,
Sir.
it's Doretta Polk first. Mr. Doretta Polk, go ahead. And then Miss Cindy March, and then Mr. Russell. Welcome, Ms. Polk.
Good evening. My name is Doretta Polk, and I'm here to talk concerning Lindsay Davis, Senior Citizen Center, which I'm a member of Lindsay Davis. And prior to Mr. Blankenship leaving the city, I spoke to him concerning several things concerning the bathrooms, because I was very concerned about the bathrooms of in Lindsay Davis and the conditions that I was told that has happened there. So nothing was really done. I went to I talked to Miss Gwen, and we thoroughly talked concerning it. Talked to Mr. Blankenship, and then I went talked to the city manager, and he said that we're going to start working on that. We have an interim Parks and Recreation. This is Valerie Grimsley, which she did, because I was concerned also about the ventilations, because it needed to be cleaned. not just for our citizens and seniors, it's for also the police department that also shares that building. And Miss Valerie Grimsley was able to get that done. And then one of the other seniors, Mrs. Margaret Shepherd, talked to Mrs. Deidre Jacobs concerning the conditions in those bathrooms because we're elderly seniors and we need the high-rise bathrooms, toilets, which I have in my home because I'm elderly now. And we need that. We need the bars, the handlebars for safety. And throughout with accommodations of Mrs. Deirdre Jacobs, we're now getting that. We always have the no-touch toilets where you just put your hand over it and it flushes. We have the bars, the safety rail bars there. And now we're getting also the sinks, which no touch, which we have here in the marina. And I just want to commend Mrs. Deidre Jacobs because this is all we wanted. This is all we wanted for all of our safety, the male's bathroom and the female's bathroom. And I thank you for having such a wonderful and amazing, awesome, caring employee, Mr. Jonathan Evans, as Ms. Deidre Jacobs. And I commend her. And thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Pope.
Cindy March.
Happy New Year's and good evening, everybody. This is why I tell you all the time, learn your candidates for yourself. That's including the judges. And not to piggyback on what Ms. Shepherd said because I was not there, but just to let you all know, I felt it was very, very sad the way Tawana had to leave here. But I'm gonna tell you something. If the records were straight with evidence, she don't even be on Facebook. That's not even her character. Have nothing but respect for her. But she came after me on Facebook. But before you all went to court, that Facebook post was snatched down. If they had to use that, they would have had a different kind of outcome in that courtroom. I have an original letter. I said it once and I said it again. Tawana was there. She mailed me a letter that was supposed to went to Julia Botel, but the letter got sent to me. She begged me for that letter. You can have the letter, but you won't get the original copy. I have the original copy right now in my glove department. I gave her a copy. This city has been doing so much wrong, and these the people we put in office. If we cannot go by the guidelines of the state, the supervisor of election office, why should we allow one judge to turn this whole city around for something that wasn't right? If you're not on time, you're not on time. It's just that simple, especially when you went on the news and saying you would step down. You have the right to change your mind. I get that. I respect that. But if we don't get out and vote for the citizens of Revere Beach, because these people we put in office, they're not for us, a lot of them. Not all of them, and they do not know the charter. You can talk about Charger McCoy, but Charger McCoy know that charter, and he knows it very well. We got to stop letting my friend vote for me. Give me a free turkey, I'll vote for you. Give me $50 on my water bill, I'll vote for you. This is not the way a city is supposed to be ran. This city is ran just like Washington, D.C. Trump trying to stay on the ballot, she trying to stay on the ballot. Enough is enough already. You all learn your candidates for yourself. We didn't even know these people when they ran for office. So just because another person is running, you don't know him, study what he knows, his experience, not the color of his skin, whether he's black or white. Get people in here that's going to do right for the citizens of Revere Beach. Enough is enough already. If we're going to move this city forward, let's move it forward with transparency and loyalty. And I'm sick of this with Botel, this, Botel. Botel got this city so divided with racism.
Thank you for your comments, ma'am.
Winston Russell.
Welcome, Mr. Russell.
Winston Russell. I'm here on behalf of my food truck once more again. 2.5 years, been now going 3 years since I'm still fighting. I don't know what I've done to the city. Never did anything to the city. Why is it this problem that we cannot find a spot for these food trucks? It's right here on 13th Street, a little dead end street right there. We could make that into a little food court. If nothing goes inside here except the gas station people who goes and comes out. No vehicle goes there. It's a dead end. It could hold 2, 3 food trucks. Money goes up Broadway, money comes down Broadway. That's where we want to be. We don't want to go in where we want to go. S Avenue, J Avenue, K Avenue. No money over there. The same access the restaurant has. The same access food truck has. We pay lights, we don't pay lights, we pay insurance, we do all inspection, same thing. Only difference with the food truck and the restaurant, one got restroom, one don't have. That's why it's called mobile. So please, it's about time. As the lady says, it's about time with her restaurant. It's about time the city do something. You're gonna wait until all these investors comes in and take up everywhere. They don't go and drive and buy no property and build no high rise over there. No money over there. They all comes to Broadway side where the money is. That's where we want to stay, where the money is. Mr. Evans, city manager, city council, whoever it may be, it's about time. You come up with some form of ideas. See? Food trucks out, you want to go, I want to go out there every day and do my business. I'm scared. I don't know which day they're going to come and lock it down. You don't know which day. You take a chance and go out there, but you don't know which day they're going to come and lock it down. You can't cook as you want to cook because you don't know when they're going to come and say, shut it down. It's about time. I'm tired. I'm asking you again. It's a new year. That's why I came. I've been here for a while. I leave it alone. It's a new year. It's about we make a fresh start now. See? And come up with some ideas about these food trucks for Riviera Beach. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Russell.
Next, we have Deborah Houghton, Mr. Derek Dorset. He actually put in 2 cards, and Rochelle Baker Hughes.
Hello. Sorry, give me a second. Sorry, folks. Give me a second. Good evening. My name is Deborah, and good evening to everyone in the audience. The reason why I'm here, as per the gentleman conversation, is about the food truck. I've been 4 years next month in the same location on 1715 Broadway in a private property owned by the Florida Marina Tech. And I've been there doing a very good job for a long time until sometime last year. I invited some people from the city just to come out and enjoy the food and laugh and joke with us. Within an hour or 2 later, the police showed up, saying I'm playing music too loud. And you shut it down. After that, my business failed. A little bit of music once in a while shouldn't hurt us. A lot of people play music at their home or wherever they want to play it in different places. I don't see the purpose of you taking away so much stuff away from the food truck that's coming. Food trucks are going to come. It is out there because the Brocomotive were too expensive. A lot of us cannot afford to pay the rent that they want for a 200 square foot building due to COVID came in and price hike and food product is so high. It's hard to buy our product that we need for food. And at the same time, we're not getting a lot of people to come out and buy the food from us. I'm in an area that is covered by grass, but I'm stuck there because that's where I find the place at the moment to be able to can afford the rent that I'm paying that person. At the same time, there are places in Riviera Beach that we can go with our truck on a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday and sit there for 4 to 6 hours and make some money. But due to the fact that the city said, no, you can't go here, you can't go there, or find a way to charge us and let us go. Let us move our truck around because a lot of people don't want to eat the same thing every single day. I don't know who want to eat McDonald's 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Or ribs no offense to rib people, I sell ribs too. ribs every single day. We like to have varieties of different things. I know that I'm being asked, bring the truck over Singer Island. I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can bring it over there because I don't know how they would feel. Or any trucks, can we go over there and sell food sometime? Can we go to West Palm? Like, I've been asked, come to West Palm. But for me to go to West Palm, I have to apply for a permit. As per me having one with Revere Beach, I have one with Lake Park. Why do I need so many permits to go to the same county? Why can't we just have a county permit so we, oh shoot, bye. Can
Thank
I
you for
come
your
back?
comments, Ms. Deborah.
Huh?
Thank you for your comments.
Mr. Derek,
Oh, speaking to Mike, I can't hear you.
this is Mr. Derek Dorset.
Good evening, good evening. Dr. Mr. Derek A. Dorset. Dr. Botel, I want to just thank you for responding back to me in a timely manner. You're the only one that has done so over the years. I support you. I will be voting for you, despite anything else. I see what I see and I know what I know. I may not agree with everything you do or anybody on the city council, but I know about you and the work you've done. I'm here today in reference to an officer, R. Smith. Her badge number 7054 had an incident last year on 10/28/23 of a gentleman that was on a bicycle. I would say this is probably around 8 or 9 o'clock at night. I'm in my office. All around my property, I have cameras, so I could see everything what's going on. I happened to see him in my office looking inside of my work truck. I have a mobile repair shop, so we have about $30,000 in that truck. And I'm looking at him, and he's riding on the bike. So because I don't like that, and there's so much theft going on, and I have mentioned it years ago, we need to have regular cops. You know, even, I know it's against the law, you stopping them, asking them, why are you walking this late at night? Because that's what they do in North Palm Beach and other places. I followed him to 32nd, and I called the police. And when the police got there, I told them what the situation was. But the cop was very nasty to me. I walked up to her vehicle, and she says, I don't need you to come to, I'll be right there. That's not the way you talk to a citizen. I called you. Now you giving me attitude? No, that's not going to happen. My mother died last year, 2023, in January of COVID-related illnesses. I didn't put up with my mother disrespect. So you think I'm going to let a cop disrespect me? That's not happening. I give respect, and I deserve respect, and I earn it. You don't have to give me anything. But if I respect you, you're going to respect me. I pay your taxes. So she needs more training on how to be a professional. I think she's new, because I've never seen her before. I know we got a lot of new cops here. And we just need to do better with how we approach the victim. One other thing, she asked me for my ID. She didn't even ask him for his ID. So my information is the only one on this document. Why didn't you get his ID? We have a problem here, and she needs to be corrected.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Dorset.
Next, we have Rochelle Baker Hughes, Fane Lozman, and Margaret Shepherd.
Welcome, Ms. Baker Hughes.
Good evening, council members and city staff. Happy New Year to you all, and I hope you all had a very wonderful holiday season. I'm here to speak about the reconsidering of D.R. Horton's application to develop the former Lone Pine Golf Course. As a resident of Lone Pine, and as you all know, I, along with all of the other residents in my community, spent over 3 years fighting to preserve that land from being built into a concrete jungle and having houses built on top of our homes. And as we all know, back in June of 2023, we won the fight with a 4-1 vote against the rezoning of that property from recreational open space to residential. We were elated, to say the least, and so proud and honored that our council members stood up for the citizens of Riviera Beach and the residents of Lone Pine. Then in July, our world got rocked. And I mean rocked. When there was a motion made by this council to reconsider D.R. Horton's application. As I watched this via YouTube, my heart sank. I was flabbergasted, speechless, hurt, disgusted, and angry, and I cried. I will be honest with all of you, it took everything within me not to jump in my car that night and drive over here and raise holy Cain about the situation. I had to calm myself down and realize that if I did react like that and came storming in here, I might end up in the back of a police car for disorderly conduct. So I sat back and I realized I do respect all of you. I'm sure I can't imagine your job up on the dais, so I just want you to know I respect all of you. Anyways, so on January 3rd, 2024, there were big yellow signs posted about a hearing to take place on January 24th for this reconsidering. We did find out a few days later, when all the signs were removed, that it hadn't been scheduled or confirmed yet. Anyways, the situation is still looming in the darkness, and I know there's no way to make it disappear. So I'm here representing Lone Pine Estates and telling all of you that we still, the residents of Lone Pine, still oppose the D.R. Horton development. And we hope as residents of the city of Riviera Beach that we have your support and backing. I also want to thank the public utility workers who came out and handled a broken water sewer line on Lockmore Road about a month ago. They were all professional and kind. And also want to thank public utility workers staff who joined our HOA meeting back in October after we had all the flooding in our community. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, ma'am.
Fane Lozman, followed by Margaret Shepherd.
Fane Lozman. This coming March, the United States government supposedly going to have a trial where the Department of Justice is going to try me based on a complaint that was made to the Army Corps of Engineers over my floating home. And you're being handed out a paper where originally the Army Corps was not going to take action against my floating home, but Botel and Lee Innocente lobbied Colonel Kelly relentlessly, where they finally filed a complaint under the Rivers and Harbors Act against me. That complaint should concern you. Maybe Guyton didn't concern you, but the complaint should concern you because you ultimately are the final policymakers responsible for the city manager. The city manager on Thursday, February 11th, 2021, held a meeting at the Ambassador Center. City manager was there, Sermons was there, assistant city attorney was there, and a couple other elected officials. At that meeting, Botel directed, or the police chief, Botel directed Summers, Officer Summers, who magically has been suspended. I don't know how you still have your job as police chief because Summers is Botel's pet. Whatever Summers wants, Botel takes care of it. That you suspended him and still have your job is remarkable. But that notwithstanding, Summers aggressively pushed Dan Taylor in the back after he had received shortly before the meeting a artificial hip, pushed him out the back door, threatened our attorney, and threatened me with arrest for going to a public meeting. At that meeting, the city manager, I have a photograph with a few feet away as Summers pushed Dan Taylor out the back door. This man right there had an agenda where he coordinated the Department of Justice and Army Corps enforcement action against me. I'm not going to take it from the city manager. The city manager supposedly was supposed to be suspended tonight. That was the rumor. I don't know what he did, but supposedly he was supposed to be suspended. I know what I can do legally in federal court. I have all the ammunition that I need to take him down legally. The same with Botel, the same with other individuals in this city. What are you going to do? Why is Botel going around the city council? Based on that item, if they wanted the city manager to go meet with the Army Corps, that had to come before you. And at the five final policymakers, you make that decision, not Botel. You know, one of the things before I had a falling out with Summers is he said Botel really runs this city, not the city council. Botel runs this city. And that's evidence of it, that Botel is having meetings without your permission, having the city manager go meet with the colonel, having all these things done by the city manager without your oversight. Botel is a toxic influence on the city. She needs to be thrown out of office at the March election.
Good comments.
Next public speaker is Margaret Shepherd, followed by Dolores Williams, and the last is Mary Bram.
Welcome, Ms. Shepherd.
Good afternoon again. Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Thank you again for reaching out. If we can tentatively make that date February 14th, Valentine's Day, because we really want to set it out really nice. We want Ms. Deborah Hall to come and read to us, and they're looking for Dan Calloway, and it was somebody else. But anyway, we want to make it a grand day. I'm just waiting on Gwen because, you know, she's been very busy with that parade. And Mr. Evans, we were on the Palm Beach Post. Our group, they didn't think we could dance, but we can dance. I didn't dance, now I just waved. Everybody knew me, so I got out very easy by waving. And they were calling my name. I was a celebrity now. So lovely parade, lovely parade. I wanted to start talking about Miss Brooks. I was so glad she keep coming up here. And if you keep on having that squeaky wheel, people are listening, and I want to encourage her to keep on listening, Mr. Evans. And one more thing, thank you for Lindsay Davis and Jacobs. You don't know, you can't imagine how great it feels to go in there now. I do want to make a comment. I'm just the messenger. Our group is 281 senior citizens. Now, when they call me, my job, I was the chairman for 4 years. When I got sick for the 4 years, I was out. Now they see me getting back into the realm of things. So I have to adhere to what they say. If they say they want Julie Botel, my job is to convey to you what they want. If they want this Leroy Nelson, I have not met Leroy Nelson. I am anticipating having to sit down with him because I want to know what is his plan. This is going to be a great election, and I'm not getting in a fight with anybody. Julie Botel sat there in the courtroom. The judge made the decision. So I'm just conveying the message, and please don't go back and say Ms. Shepherd said anything. Ms. Shepherd is just the chairwoman of 281 people. We have been in existence now for over 15 years, and we have supported each and every, except this nutcase. We have, I lost my thought. We have supported each one of you all. And I begged them, don't do it. Please don't do it. They did it anyway. And so what they get, I'm happy. I'm happy for them. But we can make it right this year. We can make it right. The senior citizens don't want her. I'm with them. Whatever they want to do. I'm just one vote. But I want to clear it up that I didn't get a chance to eat my breakfast because I'm politicking. And if they say they want Julie Botel, get it. Whatever. I don't even remember what happened. My mind does not focus on whatever she done. If she racist, God bless her. Anyway, there was a picture taken of me with Bobby Powell. I did not authorize that picture. And I want to make sure that Bobby Powell knows he's very arrogant. Very arrogant. And you know, when you take a picture of someone, you're supposed to let them know. And I'm supporting Richard Rouse. So that picture needs to come down off of that website. Please don't ever and that was my fault because I shook hands. I should have known not to be shaking hands at that luncheon. And it was kind of horrific because people were shaking my hand and talking to me. And the whole lineup, my car was the last car that left that parking lot because I was standing there politicking. So please don't say Miss Margaret Shepherd said anything. Miss Margaret Shepherd followed the rules that they set before me to talk. Let me go to Bruce Guyton. I think Bruce Guyton, who's been a very good friend of mine, when I first came to the city, he appointed me to planning and zoning. And from there, Secretary Thomas. So whatever happened, this is the election year. No, I still got time running.
Pause the clock.
The clock was frozen when you first started, Ms. Shepherd. I do apologize about that. But it's been, yes, your time is up. I do apologize.
Come on, Mr. Lawson.
I had set the time with Ms. Shepherd. I'm sorry, Ms. Shepherd. Thank you for your comments. We love you, Ms. Shepherd. Happy
I'm
New
like
Year.
my baby.
Thank you for your comments. Happy New Year.
Dolores Williams and then Mary Brown.
Oh, shut up.
Happy New Year to everyone, and the blessing of the Lord be stored upon us, because he said in Jeremiah 29, that my thoughts toward you are not evil, but that you will have a good ending. So I'm up here and to the council, the mayor, I'm glad to see you, Mayor. I kept looking for you. All the councils up there, the city manager, and the people here, and the citizen of Riviera Beach. My first thing to say, Mr. McCoy, I think he really know our charter, and he say a lot of things. They bring up a lot of stuff, but he said, I don't think you can do that. So I want to let him know, be of good courage and wait upon the Lord, for he shall strengthen our heart. And I'm going to speak. I started to bring it in with me tonight, but now I say no. I was going to bring a clear glass of water, 2 waters, and show you once you drop some chlorine bleach in it, the water turn clear. It's yellow. Just drop some water, everybody in the city, and let it sit there. It's yellow. Drop some bleach in, it's going to clear. We're not talking about Trump say when they had the COVID, shoot the bleach in your veins and you're going to get rid of COVID. That's not that. And that's what I want everybody to do. You don't do because I said, try it for yourself and see. And Ms. Botel, I know they've been on you again, and I'm going to say something. I know they say you went to court, and I wasn't at the court. I heard so much about Mr. McCoy and about you, but when we did a recall, we had almost 3,000 signatures and over, and then they say not the first one of those signatures was good. And I was taking the petition where people had just got their new voting card. I'd like to know how those people, every one of those signatures we got there, nobody make it in. You know what they say we had to do? We should have put Palm Beach County behind it. What county do we live in? Palm Beach County. Wherever you sign your name, you know you're in Palm Beach County. And when the registrator down to the voting thing should have looked it up and made sure she knows we're from Palm Beach County. I went down there. They gave me a piece of paper, say the rule was, they brought out a paper. They had one little line. Say we should have said Palm Beach County. But we going this time, right? We gonna do it this time. And then on Martin Luther King, I'm kind of surprised about every time you turn around, they got all these businesses putting up all these here business things here. Well, why did they, right on Martin Luther King, but why didn't they put some houses right by Stony Brook? You got another big old fancy build. Oh my God.
Thank you for your comments and Happy New Year, man. Madam Clerk? Miss Mary Brown?
Good evening, Miss Mary Brown, Riviera Beach. First of all, I would like to say Happy New Year to each and every one. I had cards for everyone, but you'll get them at a later date to say Happy New Year. I would just like to say that over the holidays, I want to thank the general public. I want to thank all over Palm Beach County. And my breakfast that I'm a part of on Monday, it was just absolutely phenomenal. Miss Brown was in court on Tuesday and on Wednesday. And Miss Brown took extensive note, not that she wanted to be there,
But I was advised to be there so that I can give reports to the committees and stuff within the county that I sit on. And I'm just going to say that, Mr. McCoy, you are not Jim Crow. If you were born in Jim Crow, you would be doing just what you're doing today, speaking truth to power. You are not Jim Crow. It was appalling in some things that were said in that courtroom. You can testify, you can do anything that what you want, but the race card was played there to the fullest. And it was played amongst we as blacks. We have to stop that. We are better than that. We are better than that. And McCoy, no matter what the outcome of what they say, the truth will always prevail. Miss Bram, law. Miss Bram traveled with her books here. This Robert's Rules of Order dates back to 1893. This recent one's here. See, Miss Bram have to know the law. She have to be able to narrate you people, because this is what happens with you all. And as well as the law book, every law it is in here. Every code it is in here. So Miss Bram is well versed. And she travels with the dictionary as well too, and other tools and stuff too. So when I go into these meetings here, Miss Bram know what she's talking about. She does not hear wind stuff, because this is what was wrong with our city right today. You get it all in your wind, ears, and you get the misunderstanding about things. Whatever the judge decided on, it would be narrated, because we as a city, as well as the other municipalities, we have to know how and what direction that we will go in. Is the law going to change from state and federal and local law? Is that going to change? So it is things there that we as the whole country must narrate. Whether Botel right or wrong, it has to be done. Lawson, your event was just awesome. Mr. Evans, you scored that point, and all the vendors, Miss V, the Peanuts, the Herbs, the Sickle Cell, and this magnificent book that was given to me.
Thank you for your
Over
comments, Ms. Brown.
400 women inventors. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
You did a good job, city manager. You did a good job. Mayor Felder, you
Thank you
did
for
a good
comments, Ms.
job.
Brown.
Yeah, Miss Brown is going to be in this
Ms.
election
Brown,
this
thank
year.
you for
Thank
your
you.
comments. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Madam
that's the
Clerk?
end of general public comments.
Thank you. Going into regular agenda items, ordinance 8A. I'm
Ordinance,
sorry.
no-
Actually, let me have Mr. Evans respond to the public comments first before we go into our regular meeting.
Mr. Chair, I have no comments to public comments, but I did score more than one basket. I'm just clarifying that for the record.
I got the. Here. Madam Clerk, 8A.
Ordinance on second and final reading, item 8A, ordinance number 4251, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, amending Chapter 31, zoning of the Land Development Code of the City of Riviera Beach at Article 5, Section 31-1, definitions, Section 31-281, to update purpose of the Office and Professional Zoning District, OP, Section 31-282, parenthesis B, special exception uses to update allowed uses, providing for conflicts, severability, an effective date, and other purposes. Mr. Chair, we do not have any public comment cards for this item. The acceptance of the cards is closed.
Oh,
Thank you,
motion
Madam
to
Clerk.
approve
And-
ordinance number 4251.
Second.
Residents, if we could, please, as you're walking out, keep the noise down. It travels up front. Motion been made and properly seconded. Mr. Evans?
Mr. Chair and members of the board, at this time.
Hold on one second. If we close that door, please. Officer Phillips, residents in the room, please keep the noise down. Mr. Evans, go ahead.
Mr. Chair and members of the board, at this time, if we could have the Director of Development Services, Mr. Clarence Sermons, to make this presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of council, Honorable Mayor and Madam Attorney. I am before you to present this item, which is on second reading. It concerns the Office Professional Zoning District. As you heard during first reading, the applicant has proposed that additional uses be added to this zoning district to allow for an expanded slate of opportunities for commercial businesses in the zoning district. There have been no changes to this ordinance since first reading, and staff still recommends that City Council approve this item, and we are available for any questions there may be.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons. Madam Clerk, did you say we have any public comment cards? None?
We do not have any comment.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Comments from the board? No comments? Madam Clerk?
Councilperson McCoy,
Yes.
Councilperson Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Councilperson Botel,
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Lanier,
Yes.
Chair Lawson.
Yes.
That's a unanimous vote.
Thank you. 8B?
Item 8B, ordinance 4243, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, amending the Land Development Code, Chapter 31, Sections 31-1, 31-61, 31-141, 31-161, 31-187, 31-192, 31-197, 31-222, 31-242, 31-302, 31-322, 31-362, 31-382, 31-422, 31-487, and 31-536, creating sections 31-560, 31-561, 31-562, and 31-563, amending the definition of family, amending the definition of the terms multifamily dwelling and duplex dwelling, adding definitions for the terms assisted living facility, community residence, hospital, nursing home, recovery community, recovery residence, specialty medical facility, and specialty hospital, providing for severability, repeal of laws in conflict, codification, and for an effective date. Mr. Chair, we do have one public comment card on this item. The acceptance of the cards is now closed.
Motion to approve ordinance number 4243.
Second.
Ms. Evans?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, if I could have the Director of Development Services, Mr. Clarence Sermons, to make this presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Again, Mr. Chair, members of council, this item again is before you on second reading. This concerns the identification and regulation of medical-related uses in the Land Development Code, as well as housing for those in protected classes. The council has reviewed this on first reading, as well as a couple workshops before that. There has been no changes in this item since first reading, and staff does recommend approval of this item.
Thank you for comments. We do have a public comment card, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Chair, we do have one public comment card. Brandy Davis Balsamo.
Evening, Commissioners, Mr. Mayor. My name is Brandy Davis Balsamo. I live at 217 East 23rd Street. I'm before you today as an owner in that area, but also as the president of a newly formed nonprofit that's called LANA, Lakeview Area Neighborhood Association. This association represents from Avenue E all the way to the Intracoastal between 12th Street and Silver Beach. There's obviously a lot of redevelopment that is going to happen in this area over the next 5 to 10 years. And we do need awareness, as a lot of people have said. We need clear context. We need advocacy as people who are going to live there, and businesses that are going to be there as well. And so this organization is there to help support and to work with the city, and also to fill gaps. Because obviously the nicer neighborhoods are not completely nice because the city did everything for them. It's because the people in those neighborhoods also did things for themselves. And so that's what we're here to do. Anyone can find that website and join as a business or as an owner or as a resident. It's hylana.org. Now, on this point and topic, I want to thank the city staff on this item, because I do think that this is an improvement. Having looked at what's in place now, and that there's clustering, I think that that's very unfair for the areas that may have undue burden, and those are for these types of centers. And the point that I wanted to make here today is that the downtown corridor has a lot of neighborhoods that are non-HOA neighborhoods, right? So if there's no more clustering allowed, what's going to happen eventually is that we're going to have some of these communities move into our areas. And we're in a very dense area, and that density can exacerbate the problem. So, you have houses in Lakeview Park that are on 5,000 square feet with 1,200 square foot homes. And if they shove 6 people in there, that's going to be a problem. I mean, we only have parking for 2 people, so I don't know how this is going to really work out. But we understand that, there's legislation, there's the precedents. So we just need to work together to make sure that this doesn't get out of hand and that we end up with flop houses that are doing the opposite of what we want to do. This is a comment in particular to the sober homes, which run incorrectly. I think it's no secret. There's been lots of reports on this, end up being disastrous. And it's a revolving door where people are just used to, for the money that they get for just having these tests done every day, and then they're out on the street. And we don't want more of that. We've done a lot of work to clean up that area. So again, thank you for putting this together. We appreciate it. We support it. And I think we just need to really work together on the enforcement and make sure we know what to do when things get out of hand.
Thank you for your comments, ma'am. Comments from the board?
Mr. Chair,
Dr. Botel.
just want to be very, very clear about this. In any way, does this ordinance at all promote the establishment of sober living homes or we call them recovery residences? Or does it aim to control them?
No, it does not promote them, but it does identify the use and provide parameters for them within our code.
Okay. So I think there might have been some misunderstanding the last time we had this before us. And I want to be sure people understand that this is an attempt to improve the situation, not to have it deteriorate so that there are more of them. But thank you.
Commissioner? Madam Clerk?
Councilperson Botel?
Yes.
Mr. Chair.
Councilman? I'm sorry,
I'm
Mr.
sorry,
Councilman McCoy, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't recognize that you were actually going to roll call.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Councilman.
So, Mr. Sermons, I'm looking at the ad in the newspaper, and it doesn't exactly reflect the ordinance that's before us. And I'm going to go ahead and state right now that I object for legal sufficiency. What's published in the newspaper should be exactly what we're being asked to vote on. Well, how and why that changed, I'm not sure. But, I get certain people in the community that seems to think that for some reason that I have some sort of personal agenda. I took a solemn oath that I take very seriously, and I make a lot of sacrifices, and I don't expect, most people to understand it, but I've spent time and I really am appreciative of the opportunity I had to work in the legislature. And I've learned a whole litany of legislative and public policy from the state level dealing with appropriations. I have never in my life seen where we pay people 6 figures to do a job. And if I'm only a part-time elected official with a double-time responsibility that I can come in and see a newspaper ad that clearly misleads the public, but when you come in and you look at a city council agenda, it's completely wrong. But well, you know what? Maybe McCoy's talking too much. But God darn, this is the same thing that happened in October 2022. In fact, I'll give you the exact date. October 5th, 2022, we had the MEHOP ordinance that everybody on this whole entire board was so eager to pass. But I read the actual article inside the newspaper that was the public Palm Beach Post article, and it was completely separate than what we voted on. And here it is today. I got the same exact thing. I mean, you know what? I'm not really concerned. And I was born on December 7th. Last month, I made 40 years old. That was Pearl Harbor Day. I'm a natural born fighter. So if you think your words does something to me, in fact, that drives me to work harder. I may not be the smartest in the room, but ain't nobody gonna outwork me. and I just don't accept mediocrity. And what I see that comes before this board has been nothing but mediocrity. And the fact that we as board members allow this to continue to happen seems to me that we're endorsing this and we're allowing this to happen. I can't for the life of me understand why something's published in a newspaper and it's different than what we're being voted on, what we're being asked to vote on. That's clear deception. That's a violation of Florida Statutes, Chapter 166.041. And there's a process called uniform adoption of resolutions and ordinances. And it requires that ordinances that are on second reading be held after 6 o'clock and it be advertised in the newspaper of general circulation. That occurred. However, the language is not the same. And I have an issue with that. So if the board or staff chooses to go forward, I can tell you it's going to be an all-nighter for me. I will be passing out summons first thing in the morning like M&Ms to undo this action because we should not still continue to sit here and allow people to do this. And this is, you cannot summarize an ordinance. You cannot boilerplate and turn back and reduce the ordinance. What's in the newspaper should be exactly what the city council votes on. And I think it may be a shortcut, but it's a violation of state law. And I'm going to end my comments because I won't support it. It lacks legal sufficiency, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilman McCoy. And actually follow up with Attorney Nguyen or outside counsel. I'm looking at the notice that Councilman McCoy did reference from the Palm Beach Post, and it does differ. Could you please get some clarity in regards to this? Attorney Nguyen?
No. Somebody should be suspended, Mr. Chair. This happened in October of 2022. It costed the city 9 months in redoing the whole MEHOP ordinance. Somebody needs to be held account. Like, why do I have to sit here and figure this out? Like, this is tough enough to sit
Councilman,
through.
I agree, Councilman, and that's why I'm asking and inquiring, because with you bringing this to acknowledging it to the board and us seeing this same identification, this needs to be cleared up on behalf of our city manager, Attorney Nguyen. For legal sufficiency, this was signed off by your department. So Councilman McCoy makes a 100% valid point, but I just want to get some feedback on the record as to what's going on with why this differs from what's on this paper.
Mr. Chair, I
Yeah.
think you
Sure.
called on me first. I haven't seen the advertisement. I did sign for legal sufficiency. If it is different, it should be re-advertised unless Mr. Sermons has something else he'd like to add that I'm not privy to.
And to this point, I don't want Councilman McCoy to feel as if staff has completely ignored his sentiments and concerns. This is not how we're starting this year off. I don't want him to pulling an all-nighter to hold you accountable. Mr. Evans, this is your staff. You have to hold him accountable. So we can't continue to go with this back and forth song and dance. Mr. Clarence, did you want to add anything to the record? Because I can't support this either if there's a concern or an issue, because I'm looking at a difference between what I'm voting on and what's in the paper.
The staff recommendation would be to reset the item so we can verify that the
Pause on
correct
that, Mr.
ad-
Clarence. So then why did you bring the item to us?
It was just brought to our attention that there may be errors, so that's why we would like to reset the item so we can look into it.
Colleagues, would we like to go ahead and take staff's recommendation to reset the item?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, for the record, would it be the board's pleasure to reset it to a date certain? Providing staff sufficient time to redo the appropriate advertising?
Chair,
Board, Pro Tem, go ahead.
okay, what seems to be the problem here with this? Mr. Sermons, what seems to be the problem? I hear what Mr. Councilman McCoy is saying, but what is the actual issue here? Because I'm not really following what's happening.
Staff would need to review, but it sounds like the council person has noticed a difference in the wording of the header is what I'm gathering.
For
So
clarity,
staff-
Mr. Sermons, before you said sound, no, I'm gonna let him finish, but you said it sounds like, or is it what it is?
I'm not positive without having time to review.
Did you put
everything.
the language in the paper?
Until we've had a chance to review, I'm hesitant to say exactly what is taking place.
I apologize. Go ahead, Mr. Sermons.
So tell me. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out what the problem is between what's been advertised and what it is here. Is there a huge difference in that? I mean, I haven't seen the advertisement, so I don't know.
Well, as you know, we have reviewed this item multiple times, and there's been updates to the ordinance through the different conversations with council. So it is possible that the header has changed throughout those conversations. So that's what we will review to identify exactly what has been brought to our attention.
So what are you recommending that we do?
That we postpone this item and we reset it for another agenda.
Okay.
The question was asked of the board if we wanted to postpone to a certain date. What is the pleasure of the board?
We can do it time certain.
Thank you, Pro Temp. Thank you, Councilwoman Botel. Do we want to acknowledge Councilman McCoy, please?
So help me understand what that means, because if this is wrong, I'm sure first reading was wrong as well. I mean, how about we just scrap this and we just scrap it and start all over?
Well, can I jump in, please? If first reading was wrong because there were so many different iterations of this, as Mr. Sermon stated, but you all made those changes on the record, he went back, he changed it, and maybe, perhaps, failed to change the title, then second reading can go forward with the corrected title. And if this is the title that you all agree upon, and I'm not sure which title it should be, Mr. Sermons, if you all determine that, he can re-advertise with the correct title and move forward with second reading.
And that's what I was acknowledging. I think that we just need to re-advertise with the correct title and then bring it back for second reading versus scrapping. If you could support that, Councilman.
Well, I guess I missed that part. I didn't know.
Yes, sir.
So, Ms. Nguyen, you're suggesting the changes was as a result of the changes from first reading?
That's my assumption on Mr. Sermon saying that there were different iterations, yes.
And I believe Mr. Sermons did say he wanted more time to review, so he just wanted to scrap the item. So I don't.
No, we don't need to scrap the item. The
No,
problem.
no, I'm sorry, not scrap.
Okay.
Mr. Sermons wants to go take time to review so he can bring it back.
Okay.
I don't know how much time he's going to need, so that's why I didn't want to give a time sensitive or time certain date, because he said he has to review. So I don't know how much time Mr. Sermons is going to need to correct this action, because obviously the notice in the post is different than what we're reading here. So that's where he has to correct and come back to us.
Right, because it's only the title. It is not the body of the 10, 20 pages. It's not the body of it. It's actually the title of it. So it's just a title change to be re-advertised. Am I not correct?
No.
Mr. Sermons?
I believe that is correct.
Okay, so you want to, so can we go ahead and bring this back in our second meeting in February? Board, can we support that? And will that give you enough notice time? Mr. Sermons?
That would provide enough notice time, yes.
Okay, if we can correct it, have this reviewed and bring it back for a second meeting. Board, if we can support that, we'll move on to the next item.
Yes.
Mr. Chair.
Councilman McCoy, go ahead.
I'm still not sure I understand how we start from a 40+ page document down to a 25-page document. And seemingly we've had reduced the number of sections out of here since first reading. I'm confused. First reading, we had the ordinance, it was over 40 pages. In fact, I specifically said this is the largest single piece of legislation that we've ever undertaken in the city of Riviera Beach since I've been here. So, yeah, you might say it's just a title change, but it's changing the titles, but ensuring that it's consistent with each section that's being amended. So it's not just a title change, Mr. Sermons. I beg to differ. You have to actually go back and cross-reference to ensure that the sections that are newly underlined are reflected in that title. And if it's not reflected in that title, maybe it should be removed from the ordinance, or maybe it should be updated in the title. But either way, you know, I like how board members seem to want to jump straight to, let's just fix it. You know, I sat here and I agonized on whether or not I was going to let it pass, vote against it, and then file a lawsuit, because clearly it's wrong. And this ain't no circuit court decision that would have taken a long time to figure it out. And in the spirit of reasoning, you know, the first thing I do after I serve a summons on the city, I contact the city attorney's office to let them know, how do we fix this? How can we settle this? And it's never been about money, and it's not even about making a point, but for Christ's sake, meet me halfway with this. I'm responsible for 38,000 people that I answer to, whether they vote or not, but I just want to do good policy and make good business. And I'm not doing this out of a place of malice, but I'm mad. I mean, you can't give me the time that I put into this back. And that's what we don't have. We are here on a specific given term. And for us to continue to reset these items gets to be a little bit aggravating, especially when seemingly I got one part-time staff person. Departments have 10, 12. They have budgets of $12 million. I got a $160,000 budget. I don't even think it's that much. And then we have to cover staff, travel, and a whole litany of issues in some kind of way. I just seem like I'm gonna consider this December 2023, and hopefully that we can start fresh again, because I will hope there's no more ordinances that matches this. If this is the desire of the board to reset this, then I'm okay with it. But I just am getting a little frustrated having to deal with going back over doing some staff person's oversight.
And thank you, Councilman, and thank you for supporting that reset. We do want to have a fresh start. And Mr. Evans, we want to just start with a fresh set of eyes on everything. So I just need you to be on top of all of these departments. Because we don't want to waste time with noticing these items and then having residents come, ask us questions, inquiring, then we have to reset it again. So if we can't get the support of the second meeting in February, which I believe tentatively is February 21st, unless it's changed, that will be the time that we reset it. Mr. Sermons, if you can just make sure you check to everything to prepare for that meeting and have it noticed properly with reviewing the items that was also addressed by Councilman McCoy.
So,
Madam
Mr.
Clerk?
Chair, we still have an open motion. Did the maker of the motion want to amend their motion to reset the ordinance to February 21st?
I believe, Madam Clerk, we just have to withdraw the motion.
You withdraw? Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you.
And is it okay who made the motion to withdraw? Was that Councilman Botel or Councilman McCoy? Withdrawn? Yep, so they're withdrawing the motions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. 8C?
Item 8C, ordinance number 4245, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Florida, Palm Beach County. The City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, creating City Code of Ordinances, Chapter 32, Art in Public Places, providing for purpose, conflict, severability, and codification, and providing for an effective date. Mr. Chairman, we do have one public comment card on this item. The acceptance of public comment cards is closed.
Motion to approve ordinance number 4245.
Motion been made. Second. Mr. Evans?
Mr. Chair and members of the board, at this time, I'll have the Director of Development Services, Mr. Clarence Sermons, to make this presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Good evening again, Mr. Chair. For the record, Clarence Sermons, Director of Development Services for the City of Riviera Beach. This item before you is on second reading. We have discussed it extensively for some time now. It is related to establishing an Art in Public Places program for the City of Riviera Beach. At the first reading of this item, there were several questions that were asked of staff. Due to that, there were a few changes that were made to the ordinance, and the document that's been passed out to you highlights those changes. But quickly, the changes consist of changing the word can to shall on line 370 related to, 371, related to the role of the Public Art Advisory Board in expenditures coming from the public arts account. And then on page 12 and 13, you'll see some additional language that clarifies the process that would take place if a project is to move forward and install art on site. So we added additional language just to make sure that those things were clear, and also some language related to the escrow that would be required for projects that install the art on site, on what that process would look like and how they would draw down from it or close out their obligations to the city. So those are the primary changes that were made to the ordinance since first reading. Staff hopes that you would support and adopt this on second reading.
Thank you. Do we have any public comments, Madam Clerk?
We have one public comment card, Mary Bram.
Thank you. Ms. Mary Brown?
Here, Bram Riviera Beach. This is the art in public places. This is very, very good. We have dialogued this for last year, year before last. And I would just like to also say with the art in public places, if we are to build out, we must renew our city. I'm going to say give kudos to Australian there with the beautiful lights that are there. We are New York. So if we can put art where it needs to be placed, to put a face on we as a city, then that is a good thing. Because with the parade, those electrical boxes, Ms. Bram said kudos for that. I like some of that display of artwork on the boxes. I also like that display with the banners. It's time for us to move into the 21st century here. So art is a beautiful thing. Art speaks when we cannot speak ourselves. It tells what we think. It tells how we live. It tells our children that you're beautiful in what you see because it exemplifies who they are. The boxes, those electrical boxes that are out there on MLK, you all ride down there. That was one reason why Ms. Bram said that highway is more than a transporting port highway. That was what my fight was all about, to make that road livable. Because one day we would get to this point here to continue to extend all of that location out to be beautified so it can be incorporated in the city of Riviera Beach. No more warehouses. Affordable housing is so in demand here now. I know that we're clustered in here because of what has happened previous, but that was then, and this is now. So we have an opportunity to build what we can build, and we do need to build. And we do need to put art where it should be put. Not just in one place, but Ms. Bram is saying all over the city. So that when we leave here, those that will come after us, the generation would see how beautiful we are, that we did have a vision. And I love those electrical boxes with the MLK, and you can put other things there. And the banners that hung there, you can also display the banners with other artworks. So Ms. Bram says, kudos to you. Thank you.
Ms. Graham. Thank you for your comments. Madam Clerk, was that the only public comment card?
That was the only public comment card on this item.
Comments from the board? Council members? Madam Clerk?
Councilperson McCoy?
Yes.
Councilperson Miller Anderson?
Yes.
Councilperson Botel?
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Lanier?
Yes.
Chairperson Lawson?
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Thank you, and thank you for your work on this, Mr. Sermons. AD?
Excuse me, item 8D, ordinance number 4252, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, amending Chapter 22 of the city's Code of Ordinances entitled Buildings and Building Regulations, Article 2, Building and Technical Code, Section 22-31, Building Code adopted by adopting reference a new administrative code entitled Riviera Beach Amendments to the Florida Building Code 8th Edition, 2023, providing for conflict, severability, and codification, and providing for an effective date. Mr. Chair, we have 2 public comment cards for this item. The acceptance of cards is closed.
Motion to approve ordinance number 4252.
Second.
Motion been made and properly seconded. Mr. Evans?
Mr. Chair and members of the board, if I can have the Director of Development Services, Mr. Clarence Sermons, to make this presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. The item here is related to the Florida Building Code as was read into the heading. Every 3 years, the state adopts a new code. The cities that administer the code have the option to adopt local amendments. So what this ordinance will do is formally recognize the new statewide building code and adopt the Chapter 1 amendments related to local administration of the same. Myself and city building official, Mr. Michael Grimm, are here in case there are any questions of staff.
Comments from the board? Madam Clerk, you said no public comment cards, correct?
We have 2 public comment
2?
cards, Fane Lozman and Mary Bram.
Thank you. Mr. Lozman? Welcome, Mr. Lozman.
Thane Lozman. Well, Mr. Lawson, here is your opportunity to ask a question I've asked you previously to ask these 2 gentlemen. A fence. Every property in the state of Florida can have a boundary fence to protect their property. This council voted to add Florida's private property bill of rights into the city's comprehensive plan. We have a right to secure your property. You have these 2 men right here. I'd like to know why they are violating the ordinance that you passed that was signed by Governor DeSantis in July of 2021 by refusing to give me a fence permit. Everybody in the state of Florida can have a fence, but Fane Lozman. You got the building official right there. He told me I didn't need a permit for a 4-foot fence. You have Sermons there who just is afraid to give a fence permit because he's afraid that the building manager, the city manager will fire him for giving me a fence. I have photographs of young children playing in the waters around my property, which are dangerous to be walking around in because there's no fence. The existing fence that was up there, they cut it down a few weeks ago. Even though it's still being litigated, there's no more fence. Matt Lynch and his cronies over there on Singer Island cut the whole fence down and took it away. Here's your opportunity, Lawson. Why don't you show some leadership and ask Grimm, can he build a 4-foot fence without a permit? Ask Sermons, why is he forcing me to spend over $100,000 fighting for this fence for the last few years? These 2 men are sitting right there. Why don't you exercise your leadership skills and ask them what's going on with my fence?
Thank you for coming, sir.
Mary Bram.
Mary Bram, Riviera Beach. I have a question here. By the Senate bill that was passed last year in July, Senate Bill 102, is this taken into consideration to bring some of the building codes and stuff up? Because I know that bill there impedes that we would have to give leadway to construction and contractors now in building. And I know that we're building a lot of homes, townhomes, that we expect to be building all over here. So I'm asking. I know every 3 years that it is brought into play, but did we incorporate some new codes in order to meet that Senate bill that was passed, 102 that was passed last March, but it became effective in July of last year? So that is one of my questions. The second thing is that it is a good thing that we do update our building code laws. Because why? The climate has changed, and we're in climate change, and it's more destruction here because our ocean seabed is hot. So this is why everything is happening, just not in Riviera Beach, but all over the globe and landscape. So with our building codes, and especially how we are to build to sustain a lot of what we will impact here now. Because just the other day, we had tornadoes that ripped through everything, and that was unexpected. So these building codes, with these building codes here, comply as well as integrate to be taken into some of what we will encounter from the state and also on the federal level. So those are my questions, and I'm glad to see some blueprints that were in doctrine and impede that we comply to our building code laws to sustain the buildings that will go up. Because if we build it, I am guaranteed that we shall come. So those are my questions, and I'm sure that you all will answer those to the satisfaction there. So my question was, the 102 Senate bill, is this taken into consideration as well? Also, to bring up the building codes. Okay? So those were my questions.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Graham. Additional comments from the board? Madam Clerk?
Councilperson Miller Anderson. Councilperson Botel.
Yes.
Councilperson McCoy.
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Lanier. Chairperson Lawson. That's a unanimous vote.
Thank you. 80.
Item 8E, ordinance 4253, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, amending Chapter 22 of the Code of Ordinances entitled Buildings and Building Regulations, Article 2, entitled Building and Technical Codes by updating and revising Section 22-33 entitled Schedule of Permit Fees, providing for severability, codification, and conflicts, and providing an effective date. Mr. Chair, we do have one comment card on this item. The acceptance of cards is now closed.
Motion to approve ordinance number 4253.
Second.
Motion been made and properly seconded. Mr. Evans?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, if I could have the Director of Development Services, Mr. Clarence Sermons, make his presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Mr. Chair, this item as well is related to the city's administration of the Florida Building Code. In this case, our schedule of fees that are associated with building permits currently is listed within the city's ordinances. And as was described and discussed on first reading, this ordinance would move that language to adopt the fee schedule by resolution. So if this is approved, that language will be adopted, and later in the agenda that's before you tonight, you will see the actual resolution that identifies that updated fee schedule. There have been no changes since first reading. Myself and the city building official, Mr. Michael Grimm, are available for any questions that there may be from the board.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, we have a public comment.
Frank Lozman.
Welcome, Mr. Lozman.
Thane Lozman. I'm going to preface my comments. When I come up here and ask a question, I expect the elected officials to direct my question to these men and answer it. When I talked to you previously, Lawson, you said you were going to look into what's going on with the fence. These two men are sitting right there, and you just chickened out. Your job as an elected official is to serve the public, not to serve Sermons and Grimm. It's to ask questions when people have an issue. If a child drowns on my property, why didn't we ask a question? Why is it not a fence on Mr. Lozman's property? That's the question you should ask. And the mayor doing his own investigation, it said on Channel 25, looking into city departments. How about, Mayor, you look into why young children are playing on my property? How come city vehicles are parked on my property? Why are people trespassing with their dogs on my property because there's not a fence? Why don't you ask Mr. Grimm now a question? What is the permit fee for a 4-foot fence? Do you need a permit for a 4-foot fence? Why don't we ask some of these questions? Why is there not a fence? Is anybody up there parents? Do you want to have, I have photographs of young children trespassing and playing on my property. Why? Because these two men there, I think Mr. Grimm recognizes I'm entitled to a fence. Mr. Sermons is the coward who doesn't want to give the fence because he's afraid he'll be fired by the city manager, just like Lady March Goldwire was fired by the city manager. You know what you should do? Why don't you suspend the city manager? That's what you were supposed to do tonight, Mayor. I've been waiting all night to see why he hasn't been suspended.
Mr. Lozman.
Okay, so I came up here to talk about a fence, to talk about the permit fee for a fence. Why don't I have a fence? Why am I the only property in the state of Florida that doesn't have a fence? Who wants one? You go all over the state of Florida. I had Martin Fence. Martin Fence has done fences for 40 years. They've done thousands of fences in Palm Beach County. They have never been unable to build a fence. They built my fence with a permit. It was inspected, and then Botel said, well, we don't want a fence because she hoped a child would drown on my property, so it would bankrupt me, so I could not develop my
Mr. Lozman,
property.
germane to the item, please.
Okay, that's what she said. No one can give me an answer why I can't have a fence to protect young children wandering my property.
Schedule of permit
That's
fees,
what
Mr.
she
Lozman.
said. I didn't tell her to say that.
Schedule of permit fees, Mr. Lozman.
The permit, what is the permit fee for a 4-foot fence? How many people have paid a permit fee for a 4-foot fence? How many 4-foot fences have these two men denied since they've been working for the city? The answer is 0. Why am I being targeted over my 4-foot fence? These are some of the questions I want an answer to. When I talked to you, Lawson, you said you were going to look into it. You didn't understand why I didn't have a fence, and now you're acting like a coward and not asking any questions.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Lozman. To that point, that was actually part of my comments, being that it was not germane to the ordinance of the last two readings, even though Mr. Lozman jumped the gun with the request without allowing for me to ask Mr. Grimm while he's here. If we can put on the record as to answer the request, if there is a permit or if there's a request for a fence or permit put in place after we've disposed of this item, being that it is not germane to this ordinance. And Mr. Grimm, if you can stay when we get to the end of the meeting to address these concerns. That was going to be a request placed, but since I'm too chicken to ask Mr. Lozman, I'm going to continue with the business of the city and get the business done and not entertain your comments. Madam Clerk, any additional comments? I'm sorry, Councilman McCoy.
Yes, if I can have the attention of Mr. Sermons and also Ms. Nguyen. So I think this is really great. I never liked that we put permit fees inside of ordinance because it's a permanent thing, and as does times change, so should we, and we should have the flexibility of being able to bring this back. But I just looked at the number of lines, and I've not been able to understand why we consider this an amendment and not a repeal. You have 10 lines that's being added, 73 lines that's being removed, and an entire chart. Technically, you're repealing this from the ordinance. This chapter or this section will functionally have no existence whatsoever. So if we're taking all of the fees out, it just seems to me from a logical and policy-making perspective that this is a repeal and not an amendment. You're literally gutting everything out of here, and you're adding 10 lines that says from now on it's going to be referred or referenced by way of resolution. I just think that it should have been notated in this ordinance that this is actually a repeal instead of an amendment, because we're not amending anything. We're taking out probably 70, if not more, 70% of the actual context of the ordinance.
Michael Grimm, building official. Thank you for that comment. And I do understand that comment. And I did look into that because you had mentioned that at the first reading. And it is allowed to be done in the manner that I'm doing it. And I did look into it, and I do prefer, instead of the code section just saying repealed, to have something in the code that says permit fees will be done by resolution and be on file at the city clerk and at the building department. So that's what will be in the code. Instead of just repealing and just having the word repealed in the code, it will say permit fees will be done by resolution and be on file at the city clerk and at the building department. So that's how I felt was the appropriate way to do it.
Mr. Chair.
Councilman McCoy, go ahead.
Thank you for that, Mr. Grimm. Did I miss you yesterday? I don't think you were a part of our agenda review.
I had other issues I had to deal with.
This should be on file at the clerk's office because I can tell you, just this past weekend, I was driving and I pulled up on two people that was pouring concrete just to extend their driveway, just to do something that I think would not have been that much. And I just don't understand why individuals in our community are so fearful of coming in and doing the right process. And me, in this solemn oath that I've taken, you know, I have to stop and say something like, hey, I'm not a building official, but I can pretty much tell you're doing work without a permit. Do you know how much it costs? We're talking about work up to, and I just seen it here, and it was really pennies on the dollar, and that provides assurances to everybody. If you're doing something in terms of the very issue that we heard about today, where the harmonization of the driveway on 8th Street causes damage, you know what? That's largely probably not even the city's fault because you don't know what that driveway grade is when you get in there. So it's just like I see this happen all the time, and what we're talking about is literally $75 for a permit up to $1,000, and I just don't understand it. That's why in the new year, if I see it, I'm going to report it, and I will hope that when we collect these fees, that Mr. Manager assured us that we have implementation of a new program that around the clock there's going to be someone accessible to fill these complaints. But if you're doing work in this city and you think you're doing it without a permit and I see it, you can count on me calling because this matters. If somebody loses their life based off of you want to not pay $75, that's unacceptable. So I appreciate the work. I like that it's in the resolution. I just kind of felt like we gutted the whole entire thing, but you know, your point is well taken. I appreciate the work you did on it, Mr. Grimm and Mrs. Sermons. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any additional comments from the council members? Madam Clerk?
Councilperson Botel?
Yes.
Councilperson Miller Anderson?
Yes.
Councilperson McCoy?
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Lanier? Chairperson Lawson? Unanimous vote.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Grimm, and thank you, Mr. Sermons. 9A, ordinance first reading.
Item 9A, ordinance 4246, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, amending Chapter 10, Licenses, Article 8, Mobile Vendors, Section 10-262 through 10-268 of the city's Code of Ordinances to provide for regulations regarding mobile vendors, dispensing food and other items, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in code, and providing for an effective date. Mr. Chair, we do have two public comment cards for this item. The acceptance of cards is now closed.
Motion for ordinance number 4246.
Second.
Motion been made and properly seconded. Madam, Ms. Evans. Mr. Sermons?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. The item we brought before you today is related to regulations regarding mobile vendors within the city. We have made some updates as staff has viewed as appropriate based on changes in state regulations governing mobile vendors and food trucks. So we will present what we have drafted based on that, and what staff is looking for in this presentation is if council sees fit to make additional changes to these sections of the code. For this presentation, I will yield the floor to Operations Manager, Ms. Grace Joyce.
Thank you, Mr. Sermons. Welcome, Ms. Grace.
Thank you, Mr. Councilman, and thank you, Mr. Sermons. Good evening, everyone, council members, City Manager Evans. My name is Grace Joyce, and I'm the Operations Manager for Development Services. And tonight, we're going to talk about the code changes that we're proposing for business tax receipt. And I think it's important to start the conversation out by stating that what we're proposing tonight is to take our regulations and to make them consistent with the changes that were passed by the state in 2020. So I know there's a lot of questions and people came tonight to talk about a lot of things, but I'd like to focus specifically on the changes as it relates to the state, and I'm going to walk you through it step by step. Which one did I? Okay. Okay, perfect. Okay, as I stated, there was a House bill that was presented in June of 2020 that the governor signed, which created a Florida statute which defines mobile food dispensing vehicles, which is a little bit different than a food truck, and I'll get into that a little bit later. The bill preempted the regulations of licensing permits and such from local municipalities to the state. The creation of Section 509.102 of the Florida statute required the cities to amend their codes to address regulations governing mobile food dispensing vehicles so that we would be consistent with what the state required. These are the code sections that we that are in our chapter relating to mobile vending. And as you can see by this list here, some of them we changed, some of them we cleaned up, and others we didn't change at all. So I'm just going to briefly touch on the ones that we changed as it relates to the mobile food dispensing vehicles. Okay, in the definitions, we added a definition of mobile food dispensing vehicle. Basically, it's the vehicle that's totally encased. You know, it's a self-sustaining vehicle, provides the services to be able to prepare foods, serve foods. It's, you know, electric, water, everything is all within that vehicle itself. It also gave definition to mobile food establishment and what mobile food vendors are. We updated the language relating to location restrictions and prohibitions for consistency with the definitions. We had to go in and clean everything up and change it. We also revised the state regulated approval process, which means we're not getting involved with business tax receipt, but the state has specific guidelines on what mobile food dispensing vehicles must do to apply to get licensed through the state. Then we added additional language, which we took right out of their handbook as it related to safety protocols. The operating requirements, we included, again, language relating to health and safety. So we took some of the language that we were missing and added it to. For example, one of the things we added was you could not park within 15 feet of a fire hydrant. We didn't have that in the regulations before. We also included you could not park close to a storm drain because there were issues where people would be dumping in storm drains and things like that. We also updated the general regulations to include language, again, relating to the health department and waste and grease disposal, as well as requiring fire inspections by the city fire department and food preparation requirements. Underneath the licensing requirements, we included language relating to business tax receipt and certificate of use of mobile detailing. Mobile detailing vendors are different, and their license are through the city of Riviera Beach and require a certificate of use. So we needed to pull them out and identify them independently so that they would understand that they are not part of the exemption that the state put in place. Finally, we removed all references to the city of Riviera Beach tax receipt requirements for mobile food vendors, and because they're preempted by the state. However, there are still requirements within our code that mobile food dispensing vehicles and mobile vendors and mobile car wash folks, as well as ice cream trucks and things like that, must follow as it relates to parking, hours of operation, signage, and things like that. So with that, staff is recommending approval of ordinance 4246, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Do we have any public comments, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Chair, we do have two public comment cards, Deborah Houghton and Mary Bram.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Good evening again.
Good evening, Ms.
All right. My name is Deborah, and I have a food truck. I'm
Ms. Hall?
fully licensed with the.
I apologize, Ms. Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Go ahead, Ms.
Go ahead.
Deborah.
I'm fully licensed with the state of Florida. I have my license to serve food on my truck or restaurant. I've been certified since 1986 or 87. I've been taking the state license ever since. I have never failed it yet. And I have been getting my inspection with the state. As I heard the lady stated, that it's a certain time of hour for us to close or run our business. Do you do the same thing with Brocomotive? Do you tell them when to close their store? As a food vendor, some of us can open 24 hours if we like. So why are we being told what time to close our truck? And all I'm asking is why we have so many licenses in one county. If I go to West Palm, I have to apply for their license. If I go to Lake Park, I got to apply. If I go to Riviera Beach, I got to apply. That's too many licenses for one person to have to accommodate. And we have to pay for every single one of them. As a county, why don't we have a county license? So if I want to go to West Palm and serve food for a weekend or a Saturday, I can go there for 4 to 6 hours and do that. But before I can go there, I have to get a license from them. I have to pay a different fee every county. I don't see the purpose of all of us have to do that. It should just be one license for the county of, Palm Beach. Just like the state of Florida, they gave us a food license. The DBR license can go anywhere in the world. I can go to my country and use my DBR license. So explain to me what's the difference in that license and a county license in a smaller area compared to me going around the world and using my license that the government, the DBR give me. We just need help. This is our business. This is what provide food, money for our home. And when we're being told to be limited where we can go, it's not helping us. We would like to move around. When we move around is only when we have function. People love our food. A lot of us have different varieties of stuff that we serve. Let us move around and let us serve different people, different state or different county. I'm asking for your assistance because it's hurting our pocket. I'm not rich. I didn't hit the lottery yet. So I'd love to be able to move around and sell the food or let y'all taste what I serve. A lot of you don't even come to patronize me. I get more customers that's white than the African American that come to my truck. And a lot of you know me, but none of you come to patronize me until I go somewhere. Then, oh, this food tastes good. Where are you at? You know where I'm at, but you still don't come. That's very embarrassing.
Thank you for your comments, ma'am.
Mary Brown.
Mayor Brown, Riviera Beach. I have some questions here. Will the mobile vendors be designated in a precise location? Or will they be permitted to station wherever, you take, for instance, like we was over in Cunningham Park on MLK Day. Will they be able to venture into the different locations and stuff in the city? Like if we having some events, and regardless whether we're having events, would they also be stabilized? Because it's a gentleman that comes in here all the time because he has a vendor truck. And I know previously down here, it was one vendor here. So he's been up here numerous months and years advocating for his vendor service to be established in the city as well. So will we have a designated place for them? And will they be able to venture into all of our, wherever a spot is located within our communities? Because they need to know that as well. Will the city provide a location for them? Will the city provide a location for them? And then the grease and the waste. How will we compound that? Because that can become contamination and a great hazard. So I know you may mention about the fire department, but will they be responsible also for maintaining that waste and that grease? Where would that be disposed of? Would that be placed on them to make sure that all of that is taken care of in a particular spot or place? Because we don't want their waste here dumped into the dumpsters. Because we have that problem within our community where they come in and then laborers throw boards and paints and stuff all in our neighborhoods. So what designation will we have for that grease and that waste? They license. Everyone must have a license to operate. So that should be no problem. How will we do these inspections? Will we do them periodically, or will we do them every 6 months, or every year, or when they maintain their license? How often will we as a city to make sure that everybody is compliant? Now, you all are setting all of these codes and laws to regulate how we live as residents. So we need to know. So those are my questions, okay? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Brown. Comments from the board? Councilman McCoy, go ahead.
Thank you. Ms. Grace George, thank you for bringing this forward. I do want to ask a couple questions. So there was reference in, first of all, you know, I want to support the ordinances, but Mr. Evans, this seems like, you know, you guys are asking a lot for us. We just had the FAR ordinance that clearly delineates the line numbers. We just had the Art in Public Places ordinance that clearly delineates. It's like when you hodgepodge back and forth, there's no consistency. Mr. Evans, I would like to see, and I think I brought this up, that we adopt as a city council a uniform process that all resolutions, all ordinances must be numbered, all must have the same exact format, because now it seems like we're swapping from between back and forth and there's no consistency and it becomes very difficult to follow along. Like I want to call her attention to a section, these lines aren't even numbered. So I'm gonna try to do my best, but if we have a uniform system, it just makes it that much more easier from when they go in to make their amendments, as well as when we have our agenda review and even when we want to ask specific questions. But if you would just indulge me, I got to navigate back to where I was, but I will share with you the essence of what I've seen in here that stood out. Number one, I looked up the certificate of use, and from all accounts in our code, certificate of use more or less is an additional tax that's provided on the business. However, the certificate of use seems to be derived more to a physical location and not to something that's mobile. And the reason why is because I've seen a business that operates both two different business titles. Like if you have, like for instance, if you have a virtual office or shared office space and you got 10 different occupations in there, are you gonna provide that every person in that specific virtual office space or shared office space all have a certificate of use on top of the business tax receipt? The use seemingly should associate with the property itself, not with every single business. Case in point, I had the same situation. Fire inspection comes by, you got 2 business tax receipts. You're supposed to pay 2 fire inspections. I said, on what planet? That doesn't make sense. So it seems to me, number one, your reference in this refers to a certificate of use, but if it's a person that's using a business tax receipt as a mobile vendor and their location is subject to change, and I'm looking at our code, how is it that we're going to tie a certificate of use to somebody that's mobile and not to a physical location? That's the first question.
Mr. Chair, may I respond?
Please, Ms. Grace.
Okay. Excellent question. The certificate of use, which is in our code of ordinances, which you guys approved, applies only to the zoning of the property where the use takes place. It is not a tax. It's used for zoning verification purposes, and the way the code of ordinance is written, the certificate of use is required in order to get your business tax receipt. So when a person comes in to a specific address and they have business A, that business and certificate of use go together because the zoning approval, you're asking for this type of use at this address, is all within that type of request for the business tax receipt. So if you open up another business at that same address, but it's a different business, it's a different name, could be the same owner, you still go through the same process because each business tax receipt requires a certificate of use zoning approval in order for it to be issued. So that was a requirement that we enforce through what you guys told us to do. So we're enforcing the regulations that were put in place. As it relates to mobile vending, you're correct. We do not do a certificate of use for mobile vendors because of their nature. They move around. But the way that the regulations are written today, the enforcement that we're doing today by the regulations that the board approved, mobile vendors do not have the same ability to move location to location as they may in other cities.
I'll reclaim my time right now. Thank you. Perfect
Councilman
point.
McCoy, go ahead.
That's where we need to amend it because what I'm looking at clearly shows that mobile vendors are responsible for a certificate of use. And if what you're saying is true, then this ordinance is incorrect. I'm on page 3, letter G.
Yeah.
Mobile food truck shall be located within 100 feet of an entrance of a primary building that holds a certificate of occupancy and an active business tax receipt. And there's, oh, okay. So I stand corrected. So that's for the business that has to.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So nowhere in here does it require a certificate of use for a mobile vendor.
No, because, I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
Mr.
Ms.
Chair.
Grace.
Okay.
Thank you.
Because the state supersedes, they have taken on all responsibility and licensing, so we do not.
Okay. My next question was in the section where it provides that the city and the CRA can allow for certain uses on Marina Upland. Why is it that we're now saying that these mobile vendors cannot solicit, distribute, or I guess it says basically sell or distribute alcohol? That seems to go against the very thing that we do here in this Bicentennial Park, and when we have these various events out here every Sunday. So I'm not understanding why that came up and what's the rationale behind that.
May I address?
Please, Ms. Grace.
The state prohibits the sale of alcohol from a mobile food dispensing vehicle, which if we are having an event and there are other types of vendors that are there and they are not licensed by the state, or if they're licensed as a special event through the Department of Alcohol and Tobacco, then they can sell. But the state of Florida prohibits the sale, with exception of one place in Ybor City. One mobile vendor has a license to be able to sell alcohol.
Okay, well, thank you. Then that's redundant. If the state already restricts it, I'm going to ask that we strike it because I don't even think that applies to what we do here. So when they do this, and I think it's upcoming in April, when they do this old school reunion and they specifically bring in the whole entire setup and they bring in all of their vendors and their whole setup of mobile, I don't know if you call it a mobile vendor, but certainly they don't have a permanent location here. You're essentially saying that they can't distribute and sell alcohol when they literally lease out the entire promenade, and that includes the whole entire boardwalk area. So if it's really restricted and they have a license, right? They already have a license to distribute alcohol. That's just in supplement. So why would we put that in our code? Because clearly if the state allows them to do it, there's no provision that provides for an exception here. So I'm trying to understand, why do we need to now put it in our code? And if the state does in fact regulate that, then it proves to be redundant and unnecessary.
May I clarify?
Please, Ms. Grace.
Two items that we're talking, or that you're talking about here, and if I could just clarify so that I know that I'm understanding your question. One would involve special events in which a plethora of trucks come together underneath a special event license, which is overseen by the Special Events Department. We do not issue business tax receipts for those types of events. The second would be the mobile dispensing food vehicle, which is something that the state regulates. We are just saying if someone comes into the city of Riviera Beach, we want to clarify so that they understand that they are not allowed to sell alcohol. We are just reinforcing what the state already says. So I don't think that we're being redundant. I think we're being clarifying because folks come in and ask. They ask that question, and if we have it in writing that we can show to them, these are the things that you're permitted to do at this location, I think it assists us in helping them.
Follow up.
Councilman, go ahead.
Yes, but when you look up the definition of mobile food vendors, it says a person who prepares, dispenses, or otherwise sells food from a mobile food truck. I'm not sure if I'm following, because is there a difference between someone that sells food and someone that sells alcohol? Because clearly I could argue that if you're having a beer, that more or less is considered food, right?
May I respond?
Go ahead, Ms. Grace.
Okay. If you go to page 1 of the items of the actual amendments, they're the definitions. And if you see, mobile food truck is the overall. And it includes the mobile food dispensing vehicles as well as the mobile food establishments, which are two different things. And these are definitions that came out in 2020 from the state. One is the encapsulating, I make the food here, I have electric, I have power, I'm selling food that I cook. And the other is prepackaged sales. So I may be selling popcorn, I may be selling ice cream, those types of things. They are licensed independently and differently. The folks that have to prepare the food have to get a commissary license. They go through the health department. There are different inspections that they have to go through that the other folks do not. So it's two completely different things, which the state identified in 2020, which we did not have in our code, which this amendment would now put into our code.
And a person who sells alcohol will fall under which category, Ms. Grace?
You cannot sell alcohol underneath this definition. It is a different use through the alcohol and tobacco folks. It's a completely different use that we are not addressing as part of this amendment because it doesn't fall underneath this state statute.
Okay. Last thing, I'm not sure I follow how that applies to the events. So I guess when we have these events here, those aren't considered mobile vending establishments and mobile food vendors.
Some may be and some may not be.
Okay. The one section I've seen here that specifically called out detailers, and this was saying, so on page 2, restricted mobile vendor, a mobile automobile detailer. And apparently we struck some language from that section, but it would more or less kind of allude to that a mobile automobile detailer is a restricted mobile vendor. It's page 2.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was the original language that was adopted in the code. I'm not sure where they came up with restricted mobile vendor. We kept that title because we have that in our software system. But if you continue on into page 9, we actually pull that out and create new language so that we recognize them as mobile vendors. We recognize that they are different from the mobile dispensing food vehicles and require a business tax receipt. We're not changing any of the regulations relating to how they operate or how they get business tax receipt. We just remove them from the lump that they were in previously to create an independent item within the code.
So if this is all regulated by state statute, what part is staff recommending as opposed to what part is now mandated by state law? And I'm not going to support this item until I can see which one, because you got so much going on here in these 9 pages. I don't know what state law requires, and I can't certainly tell what the city's now asking or creating as additional regulation. So I want to make sure that if the state is requiring it, that's clear and separate and apart from what we're doing, because, you know, I don't even understand half of this stuff, what it means to be. I mean, I've searched this now 4 times to understand what a restricted mobile vendor is. It's in our code. It says it 5 times, but it really never actually explains what a restricted mobile vendor does or is. So like, to me, it just says a restricted mobile vendor is a automobile detailer. Okay, but what does it mean to be restricted?
Well, I think that it's not what it means to be restricted. It's the restricted mobile vendor is a mobile detail.
But
a detailing vendor.
My point again is, what does restricted mean? That's what I'm saying. That's why it's so difficult to.
It's not defined. There is no
And that-
definition.
well,
We
listen,
can certainly change
that's what
that.
McCoy
Councilman.
is here to make policy and process. You said it yourself, members. Let's strike that out of there. Even the staff doesn't even have a definition of it. Like, I'm trying to make this simple. When I came home from college, my first job was actually pulling a trailer, washing cars. And all of a sudden, the city stopped everything they were doing in 2010 and did a moratorium to require all of this. And even now, 14 years later, nobody knows what a restricted mobile vendor is, other than it's restricted. It just seems like complete bureaucracy that doesn't even, you can't define it, and it's certainly not defined here. I'm gonna relinquish the time back, but I don't think I'm gonna support this at all, because I want to see what the state is requiring and what staff is, because sometimes I think what we're asking and what we're creating far exceeds what the state is even asking. And I want to make it easy for people to do business here.
If I could just clarify one more point, please.
If we could move on, Ms. Grace.
Thank you.
Please.
Um,
Well, Ms. Grace, give us 1 minute.
Okay.
Council members, do we have any other comments from any of the board? Ms. Grace, we do have other items with a long night, and I do know you want to clarify a few other points. Councilman McCoy has made some valid points and concerns. If a few of them can be addressed with the concerns before second reading, if this item is passed, so that we can acknowledge some of the concerns he's addressed. Madam Clerk?
Councilperson Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Councilperson McCoy, Councilperson Botel,
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Lanier,
Yes.
Chairperson Lawson.
Yes.
The item passes with Councilperson McCoy dissenting.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Council members, we have about 4 more items. We have about 6 more items. It is 9:45. 3 of the items are going to be similar in nature, separate ordinances, but they're reference to Found Care. And we have 4 ordinances left with 1 resolution. We've moved 1 to consent. So be mindful of that when we go ahead and, if we vote to extend this time. Moving forward, I would prefer that we get this done within the time frame that we have done. Tonight is the first meeting, and I do not believe we have a meeting next week. So if we can vote to extend the time to finish the meeting, to just get the business of the city done. Madam Clerk? Next item.
Our next item is item 9B. Ordinance 4257, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, amending Chapter 31 zoning, Division 7, RM15 zoning district, multifamily dwelling district, Section 31-197B, special exception uses, approving a text amendment application to permit townhouse reviews as a special exception in the RM15 zoning district, multifamily dwelling district, providing for conflicts, severability, and an effective date and other purposes. Mr. Chair, we have 1 public comment card. The acceptance of cards is now closed.
We have the Director of Planning and Development, Mr. Clarence Director of Development Services, Mr. Clarence Sermons.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Good evening again, Mr. Chair, members of council, and honorable mayor. The item before you is a Applicant initiated text amendment that would amend the RM15 zoning district to add an additional use. Currently, townhomes are not an allowed use in the zoning district. The applicant is proffering that they be added as a use under the special exception category under that zoning district. This item has been reviewed by staff as well as the Planning and Zoning Board, who recommends approval of it to City Council, and so does staff. And we are here to answer any questions that the board may have regarding this text amendment. The applicant is also here and prepared to present if that is the desire of the council as well.
Madam Clerk, public comment, please.
Nicholas Hine.
How's it going? Nicholas Haiti, 2800 Lake Drive, Riviera Beach. As a resident of Riviera Beach, my personal home is surrounded by a lot of RM15 zoning. I think it's important that, you know, we add the townhouse zoning to the RM15. I think home ownership is the most important thing in the city and in the county, and I think this really adds to the housing stock and adds permanent residents to the city. So I just wanted to show support for adding the townhouse provisions to the zoning. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, sir. Council members, do we want to hear from the applicant? Questions from the board? Councilman McCoy, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Sermons, RM5, RM8, I think we have also a zoning district that requires or allows, we have PUDs, we have RM20s. None of these require a special exception for townhomes. None of them. Why would we need it for a much less dense property to have a special exception for 15 units per acre?
The staff has moved forward the request of the applicant. We believe that as a special exception or by right, that it would be good for development and for the zoning district. So if this is moved to a by right use, staff would support that, and we do believe that it would streamline a development in that district.
Okay, so I'm not sure, you said we believe, so this is applicant driven. You support the applicant in their endeavors to do this permitted by a special exception. What is your overall feel citywide? Because that's what we're being asked to do. Should we be looking at now changing all of our zoning districts that do townhomes to be special exceptions?
No, staff would recommend, if that is the policy desire to make sure it's consistent, that it be listed as a by right use in this district as opposed to changing the others.
I like by right. I like by right. In fact, I do not want to sit here and delay the process. I mean, development is inevitable. RM15 is not really a lot of units compared to where we are now, and we're a growing city. And I mean, we're trying to at least maximize because we're landlocked in where we can go. I just don't understand the special exception. That creates a whole nother level of bureaucracy that I don't even just think is necessary, especially when we have zoning districts that are more dense and even some that are less dense that still are permitted by right. So I'm not understanding why citywide we would now change the one and only district that I've seen to be a special exception. And obviously even PUDs, which require their own set of approvals, doesn't even, more or less require a special exception per se.
Understood. So if there is consensus on that, we can amend that for second reading to make sure that when it comes back, that it is listed as a by right use.
That's my motion, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman McCoy has presented an amendment to the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Amendment has been seconded. Additional discussion? Any public comments, Madam Clerk?
That was the only public comment.
Thank you. Additional comments from the board? Councilman Botel has accepted Councilman McCoy's amendment to the motion for the ordinance. Madam Clerk? I'm sorry.
What exactly is the amendment?
I'm sorry. Councilman McCoy, would you restate it, please, for the record?
Apparently, what's being proposed is that we amend our code to allow RM15 to develop townhouses by special exception. My amendment offered that it be permitted by right, similar to all the other zoning districts in the city.
Okay,
Yep.
let's go.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Councilperson McCoy? Councilperson Miller Anderson?
Yes.
Councilperson Botel?
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Lanier? Chairperson Lawson?
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, 9C.
Item 9C, ordinance 4256, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, approving a small-scale future land use map amendment to the City of Riviera Beach's comprehensive plan, approving application LU-23-0004 from Found Care, Inc., applicant, located at 3501 Broadway, property control number 564-342-2830-001-0010 and 564-342-2800-001-0160, and approximately plus or minus 2.52 acres, which is plus or minus 109,967 square feet, requesting a land use plan amendment to change a future land use designation from the single-family residential up to 6 dwelling units per acre to a land use designation of downtown mixed use, and providing for an effective date and for other purposes. Mr. Chair, we have 3 public comment cards for this item. The acceptance of cards is now closed.
Motion to approve ordinance number 4256. Second.
Motion been made and properly seconded. Mr. Sermons?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So to get into this item, and if there is no objection, Mr. Chair, staff will combine this item and the next 2 as they are related to the same project, and staff will give one presentation for all 3 agenda items.
Before we go into those, we would need to vote individually on each item. Board, can we get a motion to extend the meeting? Because if he gives a presentation, we would need to extend it because we're not going to get through it with the public comments.
Motion to extend the meeting, Mr. Chair. Could we consider limiting public comment to 1 minute?
To what? To 1 minute?
Yeah, I mean, it's so late.
Please, council? No? No, Councilman Botel, I
extend.
think the
Motion.
pleasure is to hear all of it.
It's not a violation, but motion to extend until we're finished.
Thank you. Motion been made to extend the meeting. Do you have a time limit on that, Councilwoman Botel?
Till we're done. I mean, we got to get
To the end of
done.
the agenda? We have a motion's been made on the table. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and properly seconded. Madam Clerk?
Councilperson Miller Anderson?
Yes.
Councilperson Botel?
Yes.
Councilperson McCoy?
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Lanier? Chair Lawson?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Thank you. Mr. Sermons, again, you said that you're going to be presented for the next 3 items in one presentation?
That's correct.
Thank you, sir. And if you could state, that's going to be for item ordinance 4256, ordinance 4255, and ordinance 4254.
That's correct.
Thank you, sir.
So the applicant for this project has submitted a package of requests to allow for the development of the site indicated by the red dot on the screen before you now. Here is a closer version of the property under consideration near Broadway and 34th Street. The applicant is requesting approval of a small-scale future land use amendment, a rezoning of the western portion of the site, an abandonment, a site plan approval, and a replat approval to allow for a new Found Care clinic. The existing site is vacant, and the parcel ID numbers are indicated on the screen. The lot is 2.52 acres approximately. The zoning is a mix between downtown residential and RS6, and the future land use is downtown mixed use. As for the request for abandonment, the applicant is petitioning the city to abandon the area indicated in the heavy black box here. This is a existing undeveloped, unimproved right-of-way that exists on the property that would, if abandoned, allow for the redevelopment of the full site. As far as the future land use, the property in question is on the screen. Currently, the future land use is single-family and downtown mixed use. The proposed future land use change would be to change the entire site to downtown mixed use. The current zoning of the property is a combination between downtown general, downtown residential, and RS6. The proposed rezoning would change the entire site to downtown general. Staff has reviewed the request here. We have found that it is supported by the comprehensive plan. We have also reviewed it against the universal rezoning criteria and found that it is satisfactory to the evaluation criteria. This hearing was properly noticed according to state law and city regulations. The staff to this date has not received support or opposition for this project. The Planning and Zoning Board reviewed this item on January 11th, 2024, and voted to recommend that the City Council approve this item. The CRA Board reviewed this item on January 17th, 2024. Staff recommends that City Council approves these items without condition. And that concludes the staff presentation on this.
Do we have any public comment?
We have 3 public comment cards, Madam Chair. The first being Brandy Davis.
Any members of the board, I'm going to be quick. I understand that this is long and we're tired as well, believe me. But I did support this project in the last meeting that I sat through, the P&Z meeting. So I do think it counts as a support. And I'm a little surprised being, an owner in this area and knowing that, there's different types of development that needs to come in to make this viable, to make this livable, and see how we as a city react to certain projects with, open arms and red carpet, and other projects were just kind of like, meh, it's not a big moneymaker. I think that this project has significant value to the community. If you read the Wall Street Journal, there was an article today or yesterday that was talking about how the US is horrible when it comes to preventative health. We're all about spending lots of money on end-of-life care, which really doesn't improve anyone's outcomes. But yet when it comes to preventative, which could give them a better quality of life, we don't do anything. And the key to preventative is convenience. And I think having a center that's convenient would cause more people to actually get the care. So I am definitely in support of this project. And I do want to mention one other thing. District 2 is not a lightweight when it comes to revenues. We have FP&L, we have the port, we have Publix, we have the marine industry. We have a lot of money in that district. So I think we need to give something to the people who live there. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Mary Brown.
Here, Bram Riviera Beach, I am totally in support of this. It is a community value. We have them on the south end and we have them on the north end. Nauticus is being built up there and all up in the Lake Park area as well as that northern corridor. It has been underserved with medical care. We as a city have been underserved in providing the medical health needs that our city needs. So Found Care, it brings in a whole lot of entities that will serve not just we as a city, but it will serve our children and our babies. And it also have that mental component to it too. This city has never had one of the official medical building facilities like you go on 45th Street and you see JFK with all of those medical facilities that really meet the community needs. If we are building, in which we are building, and I always say if we build it, they will come, and they are coming because we are the best place to live. And we do have a substantial amount of resources here as well. And for one thing, I'm proud that Found Care is coming to the table with their monies as well. So this is a plus for we as a city. And we look for entities to come in of that nature, that we don't have to just keep spending here and spending there. That property up on that northern end, I for a fact have been here for ages. And I know that that has been a much abandoned property. So all up in that area there, this would serve a great need, not just for Riviera Beach, but for the Lake Park area, North Palm Beach area, and everybody that would come and utilize that facility there. So I know all of this 9C, 9D, and E is all incorporated with this Found Care. So I'm going to make one statement pertaining to Found Care. I, as a resident, and I know a lot of more residents is in support of this as well. They comes into our city already, sometimes over there on Blue Heron there, and residents come in over there. And they also mobilize all over the city and elsewhere. So this, we can never get enough of healthcare now. Our society is deplorable in meeting our needs in order to take care of us. So those are my comments. So I would not be expounding on the rest of this because all of this is pertaining to Found Care. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Frank Lozeman.
Welcome, Ms. Lozeman.
Thane Lozeman, can somebody put the site plan map that was in an exhibit to the ordinance here? Can we put that up online? No?
Comments will be addressed.
Well,
when
I have a
they're completed.
question regarding that, and it'd be nice if we had the map. I guess the reason he doesn't want to put the map up is I have a copy of it on my phone. And I think the audience and you should look at the site plan. Do you have a copy of the site plan in your backup? Mr. McCoy? What about you, Mr. Lawson? You have a copy of the actual site plan map? Well, probably not, because Sermons doesn't want anybody to look at the site plan map. Let's talk about why. This had nothing to do with Found Care or whatever the name of this company is doing medical services. Good for you. You have to have your head examined to come into Riviera Beach, but if you want to do that, that's fine. A lot of other people try to come in here and they just gave up with frustration. They were hit up with bribes by other council members. They were told to get their clothes off and go naked to see if they were wearing a wire while a council member solicited a bribe. This is about 12, 13 years ago. Anyway, looking at the site plan that no one wants to put up online, I see a boundary fence going around the entire property, and I see inside of that, I see a 6-foot high residential buffer, the 6-foot high residential buffer wall, that goes around all the property, a 3-foot high black chain link fence inside of that, 2 3-foot black chain link fenced gates, and then a retention wall. And my question is, why all these walls? Why are these fences? Did they pay a bribe to you, Mr. Sermons? Did you solicit a bribe to get all those walls and fences?
Mr.
I don't
Lozeman.
think you did, but I want to know why.
Mr.
under the-
Lozeman, germane to the item, please.
Well, no, the point, this is an important question. The important question is that you raised your right hand, uphold the laws of the United States and the laws of the state of Florida. The 14th Amendment is the Equal Protection Law. You have to treat people equally. I want to know why this project has a boundary wall going around on it, an interior chain link fence wall. How did that happen? Why are there two standards between Found Care and myself? Why didn't he put the site plan up on there? If you guys can't have 2 meetings in a month, then you shouldn't rush through an item like this. The people in the neighborhood, they need to understand what's going on in the boundary walls and fences of this project. And if you're just traveling all over on the city's dime, then you should not rush through. I want to have a detailed presentation. I want to see what the rendering from the front of this property looks like. I want to see a detailed review of what these fences are. You can't treat people differently. Other applicants like Rybovich, you made them come in with all their walls and fences. Here you're rushing this through. I want to see it, and the other people in the neighborhood do.
That's the end of public comments, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Just to address the concerns of a resident, Mr. Sermons, when will the site plan be presented to the council?
Mr. Chair, if these items are approved, we will bring this to the next available council meeting. So as of now, we would anticipate February 7th, but that's our expectation at the moment.
Thank you. I just want to make sure that the public is aware that we are very, we understand the process and that the site plan will be provided at the typical time of the second reading if this item is approved. So thank you for the work that you've done on this, just so there's no confusion with the public. Council members, additional comments, please. Madam Clerk?
Councilperson McCoy?
No.
Councilperson Miller Anderson?
Yes.
Councilperson Botel?
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Lanier?
Yes.
Chairperson Lawson? That passes with Councilperson McCoy dissenting.
9D?
Item 9D, ordinance 4255, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, approving an application ZA 23-0007 from Found Care Inc., requesting a zoning map amendment from a downtown residential district zoning designation and a single-family dwelling zoning district, RS6, to rezone the western portion of the subject property to a downtown general zoning designation located at 3501 Broadway. Property control numbers 564342, 2830, 001, 0010, and 564342, 2800, 001, and providing for an effective date and for other purposes. Mr. Chair, we do have 2 public comment cards for this item. The acceptance of cards is now closed.
Motion to approve ordinance number 4255.
Second.
Motion been made and properly seconded. Mr. Sermons?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Staff does not have additional presentation for this item as it was covered in the previous. We are here for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Sermons. Madam Clerk, the public comments?
We have Margaret Shepard, followed by Fame Losman.
Margaret Shepard, Riviera Beach. I usually don't comment on anything from planning and zoning, and I'm glad you're here, Mr. Mayor, and Jeffrey and Mr. Booty from the Riviera Beach Housing Authority. I think it would be nice. I didn't ask that question while I was sitting on planning and zoning, but years ago when we were in Ivory Green, we had a company that had come over to Ivory Green to talk to us about our feed. Now they had blood pressure and all. And I think it would be nice as the mayor that you do a kickoff program over at the Heron Estates. And while Jeffrey is here, I think that it would be really, really nice as you all are really building and moving to really think about the seniors that really need health care over there. It's just important as you all take that push ahead, you realize, and the mayor, thank God, you know, you're quiet, but you do move projects. That's the most important thing because the seniors do need health care. And if it's nothing else, being diabetic and different things, they used to bring socks over there. whatever supplies during the storm. They were there to make sure that the seniors were very calm. And, you know, it's a part that they have a great foundation here. And I think as a city, we should utilize them because they have the resources, they have the doctors, they have the nurses, and just push aside one day to come over to the Heron Estates. Not only the Heron Estates, but the Ezra Estates. It's a lot going on over there. They need our help. And if we're in a position to help them and to
Ms.
volunteer to help them, we need to
Ms. Shepherd,
utilize them.
the zoning, this item's for the zoning.
Excuse me?
This is the rezoning on this parcel.
Well, you know, I missed the first. I'm sorry.
I know.
I'm sorry, Mayor.
Go
Yes.
Go ahead.
I think it's a good thing to bring it all in, Mr.
I agree.
God, see there? Mr. Lawson.
I'm sorry for interrupting you. I know
It's
you on a
late.
roll.
How in the heck y'all put three things together? I have no idea how you
Because we
do
trying to
it.
get
But yes,
them-
I think it's a
get to
good
the
thing to rezone it and bring it back in the city. I heard someone say the walls and all that. I was sitting in there doing the rezoning, and I don't think I saw no walls and trees or whatever. I think it was just a nice way that they have it set up to rezone for this particular project. I have one problem. They said we have to watch what we eat, but I made it very plain. I'm going to continue to eat my chicken nuggets because McDonald's is next door. So I want you, I'm serious. I want you to come in and make sure you tell them, don't eat those McDonald's when they come over there. I think it's a good project, rezone, and let's move forward. Thank you.
And for that, thank you for your work on the Planning and Zoning Board, Ms. Shepherd. We appreciate everything you do.
Fane
Comments?
Mosman.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Welcome, Mr. Lozman.
Thane Lozman, looking at the item, it said that it wants to rezone the western portion of the property. Want to rezone it from downtown residential district zoning designation DR and a single-family dwelling zone RS6 to rezone the western portion. Well, we're going to go right back to what my question was earlier. A portion of it's going to remain residential? How can you have a boundary fence in a residential neighborhood? They don't have boundary fences in residential neighborhood. They have chain link fences. They have 4-foot tall fences. So I want to have a detailed description of if this is going to be rezoned, it's going to be mixed zoning, half is in one and half is the other. Why don't you just rezone the whole thing? Why don't you just rezone the whole property downtown general? Why is it being split in half? So I want to question A, why is it being split in half, and B, all these boundary fences. You're going to have a boundary fence running through the residential? So that's the question I have. I'm not getting the answer because I don't think Sermons is smart enough to have that answer to begin with. You know, he doesn't understand what the boundary fence rules are. He doesn't understand what the single family residential rules are. He doesn't understand what the private property bill of rights are. Because if he did understand the private property bill of rights, it would have been in the comp plan before you had a comp plan amendment pursuant to State Bill 102. So as the public, you guys don't get it. You're public servants, member of the public. They want to see what the renderings look like. They want to understand the mixed use zoning, and we have not gotten that tonight. Okay, on first reading, these are questions that should be answered. Second reading should just be ministerial. We haven't got those answers. It's been rushed through. I want my questions answered.
Thank you for coming, sir.
Mr. Chair, that's the end of public comments.
Thank you. Additional comments from the board? Madam Clerk?
Councilperson Botel?
Yes.
Councilperson Miller Anderson?
Mr. Chair?
I'm sorry. Hold on one second. Mr. Sermons?
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Mr. Evans?
I need to have a brief conversation with legal, if you don't mind, Mr. Chair, concerning this particular item.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Evans, please.
Staff is requesting that this particular item be pulled from the agenda and be put on the next regular agenda that the appropriate notice can be provided.
Just 9D?
That is correct, Mr. Chair, yes.
Okay. We have a motion on the table. We just want to, whoever made the motion, withdraw. Motion's been withdrawn. And Mr. Evans, that's just going to be the request of 9D, not 9C or E?
That's correct.
Okay. 9E?
Item 9E, ordinance 4254, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, approving a request from Found Care, Inc., requesting abandonment of the following right-of-way segment, the plus or minus 30-foot by plus or minus 232.09-foot street right-of-way, 35th Street, approximately plus or minus 60.32 square feet in area that bisects the property located at 3401 Broadway in Riviera Beach. Right-of-way dedication of 35th Street and along Avenue E in Riviera Beach, Florida, providing for an effective date. And for other purposes, Mr. Chair, we do have one public comment card on this item. The acceptance of public comment cards is now closed.
A motion to approve ordinance number 4254. Sorry.
Second.
Motion been made and properly seconded. Ms. Sermons?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There is no additional presentation for this item. Staff is available for any questions there may be.
Public comment?
Fame Lozman?
Thane Lozman, for the record, the previous item, they should have described what was the problem. Why did we go through this whole presentation and then decided to pull it off the agenda? If you're sitting up there, you should say, we went through this whole presentation, public comment, now you say you're gonna pull it? Well, why did you pull it? Why didn't Sermons address some of my questions? That should be on the record. They just don't magically pull it at the end of all that discussion, not tell you why. Maybe it's some incompetence of Sermons that they had to pull it with the mixed zoning, but we should know about that and the public should know about it. When someone asks a question, you should ask the development director to give the answer. Looking at, I don't even know if you can get to 9E until you really get an answer to 9D. Now, relative to road abandonment, if you own property on both sides of the road, normally 99% of the time, it's not a big deal to abandon it. But you have to take into effect, are there any traffic lights around the side? Where is the presentation? Where is the map that shows the abandonment? Where's the graphics to go with it? People want to know. Maybe you live next door and you want to go, well, what traffic light are you going to get rid of? Is there a traffic light there? Where is the backup for the audience to look at? This is supposed to be show and tell. Show us the map, tell us the story, not like, oh, it's too late. I don't know, I don't want to deal with it. Where's the map? It said there's a sketch here. Sketch legal North 35th abandonment. Where's the sketch at? Where's number K? We're just going to go ahead and do that without knowing? Mr. McCoy, you ask a million questions. Why don't you ask where sketch K is? Since they don't care about the audience, maybe they have a little bit of respect for you. It doesn't appear that way. Where's the sketch? Where's the presentation? I've been going to meetings since 2003. I've never seen a project for rezoning or future land use map change without having some exhibits to show what's going on while questions are being asked. Where is it? It may be in there. A lot of people don't have their iPad with them to look at that. There used to be a book in the back where you could look at what these exhibits are. The clerk doesn't do that book the last 6 months. Why not? How are people supposed to look at the road abandonment? It's not a question abandoning the road, it's a question people in the audience. The individuals that put you in those seats, they deserve to understand what's going on. You are just sloughing it off, not showing what's going on, and just blowing it off. I want a presentation. I asked for the other item. I want a presentation. I want to see where the road abandonment is. I want to see the traffic study. I want to see what's going on. There's no backup that you've shown tonight, and you should show it. You demanded it of Rybovich for hours and hours on end. But now this guy, we're just gonna blow it off because it's late. They'd have 2 or 3 meetings a month until you get it right.
Thank you for coming, sir. Mr. Sermons, for the sake of the public and the last speaker, can you please pull up the item for your sketch to show the abandonment that we're going to be voting on? It is in the backup. I'm not sure if the public was aware, but if we can show the abandonment that we'll be voting on that was already in our backup.
On the screen here is the site and the existing, site and the existing zoning is shown here. And this is the area requested to be abandoned as presented earlier.
And you're pulling that from the backup?
That's from the presentation that I gave this evening. In the backup, it does have this exhibit.
Yeah, I see it as well. So I just want to make sure that all residents are clear that we have reviewed as a board, that we have seen everything and it's identified and it's clearly been identified by staff. So thank you for your work on this, Mr. Sermons. My concern is that I cannot support this item. As I spoke in the agenda review, the issue I have with this particular one is the abandonment fee. Were you able to pull up the amount that we would have secured for an abandonment fee if we charged a fee for this item?
Yes, the fee for this would be $65,812.47 as estimated by staff.
Okay, and I believe I just want to kind of go on the record for colleagues, just to be clear. I absolutely support Found Care and I'm an advocate for this organization, but we are not collecting any fees. We're not using highest and best use for this land. We have a 2-story hospital that's going to be an amazing attribute to our community, but we also have an additional 20 stories that could be going above that. It needs to understand we're benefiting with the resource and the facility that's being put into our community, but we're not getting highest and best use. And we're not even collecting the fees for the abandonment. So I can't support this item with us not receiving any fees on this because we've given the land away. We've provided it for free, and we're going to have an amazing facility with incubator space. But I don't believe it's highest and best use, and those dollars could be going into our community and benefiting our residents. So, colleagues, additional comments? Councilman McCoy, go ahead.
Yes, so why aren't we accepting this fee simple abandonment? Even though we're leasing the property, it doesn't serve a purpose for the organization other than for the purpose of stormwater and dry detention. So why would we not, I'm not sure why would we not accept that? Because I mean, surely since Safe Harbor, there was someone else that came in, Mariner Marine, they came in and abandoned some areas where we have utilities and they had to pay market value. I mean, let's send a bill up to Tallahassee and just name the city Free City Beach. I don't agree either.
And to follow up on that, we've given so much support to this organization with the free land. I've been in real estate 20 years. That value of that land with the new density that we've set is worth a couple million. And we've given that away. We're abandoning this road. We're giving it away. I can't continue to support not having some type of attributes given back to the city. So I can't support this item for the fees. A bare minimum, can we have the fees paid to offset the $3 million, $4 million worth of land that we're giving away? Any additional? Councilman, go ahead.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
there's no
Councilman.
reason why. In fact, we'll be neglecting our duty. There's no reason that we can waive that. In fact, it's impossible for us to waive that. This is an applicant-initiated application. So the mere fact that we said in our code, after we dealt with the Blue Heron North properties, we enacted an ordinance that required all abandonments to be appraised. If this was the city, and we were in fact doing the application, then naturally, we wouldn't be abandoning it and then paying ourselves. But clearly, this is Found Care. You know, Love you like a brother, but if they don't have the 65, in fact, pass it. McCoy does. We'll stay up tonight if you guys pass it and don't accept the $65,000, because that is a part of our code. And the only person that is exempt from that, if we do an applicant abandonment, we're not the applicants here, so we're not doing that. And somebody has to pay for it. And I just had this conversation with finance. You know, let me bring this up, members. This property was acquired by the city because of code liens. And I spoke to Mr. Sherman yesterday. And not only were there code liens, there were utility liens. And Mr. Sherman and finance assured me that we didn't waive the liens. That came out of the city's coffers to pay the utility district the amount that they owed us. So, I mean, we can't, no. They have to figure it out. That's it.
Additional comments?
And it's not even a question. It's not even a question of if we can do it. Legally, we're required to charge them because that's what our code says. So outside of that, somebody's going to be in trouble.
And I actually agree. That's why I can't support it, because the application is from Found Care, not from the city. And Found Care is asking for it, so we can't legally actually abandon this. But I'm going to have Councilwoman Miller Anderson speak and then have legal opine on that. Councilwoman Miller Anderson?
So had the question ever been posed as to why they can't pay it, or are they not wanting to pay it? Are we suggesting that they don't have to pay it? Where did that come up at?
Mr. Sermons?
Well,
while he's coming. Hold on one second,
hold
Councilman.
on.
Hold on. Mr. Sermons?
I apologize, Mr. Chair. Could you restate the question, please?
Councilwoman Miller Anderson had the question.
The idea of them not having to pay, was that something that we suggested? Is that something they asked for? Or how did we get here?
No, this application was made on the property that the city owns, but we just got some clarification that it probably would, and that it does apply. So what we're going to do is talk with the applicant after this hearing to talk about the fee and get this rectified.
So,
Mr. Chair.
I guess that's my question. When that was posed, I did address that in our agenda review. I think that gave us ample time to kind of look into that, to just check on the fees, because this was my major concern in my agenda review as well. So we could avoid a lot of this public delay and display if certain questions that arise from commissioners can actually be looked into, not giving clear direction, but just kind of have an answer for us. Councilwoman Botel first, and then Councilwoman Lanier, Pro Temp Lanier.
I think I was just going to say what you might have just said, which is, what'd he say? Which is, what did he say?
He said that they have to charge the fee and they're going to talk to the applicant.
Okay, so I thought that's what you said. So are we not going to vote on this tonight because you're going to make some changes, or are we going to vote on it to get it past the first reading and then you're going to make changes? Please let me know, because I am tending to agree. I know some people will find this quite shocking, but I'm tending to agree with Mr. McCoy here in this case, because I don't see that it's incumbent on us to not charge for this abandonment the way we would if it were just some other applicant. So did you say that we're going to take it off tonight or vote on it?
The staff will recommend that we not vote and we discuss this matter with the applicant and bring it back for that time.
Thank you.
Madam, or Mr. Chair?
Mr. Evans, Pro Temp Lanier.
Let me ask this question. So during this entire process, I understand that the land was leased to this nonprofit, but I did not know that the process itself was waived. What else have we waived besides this?
So there wasn't a waiver in this. We did not do any less of a review of this project than we would with any others. There was a misunderstanding because this is the city's property that was applicable. That's been clarified, and so we just need to address that before bringing it back before the board.
Okay, so let's be clear. You know, regardless if the city gives land, the city sells land, it doesn't matter. Every applicant or every developer is supposed to pay their way through these processes in terms of building, in terms of permits. I just thought that was understood.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Mr. Evans, go ahead.
With respect to this particular item, to Director Sermon's point, there is language in there where there is an interpretation issue, and so we had an opportunity to caucus briefly, the city attorney and I, with Director Sermons, and it could be perceived as a situation whereby one could argue, in fact, that it is still city property, but the way how the attorney and I both interpret it is a situation where it says that in the event that we get into a relationship with the developer and the developer comes to ask for the abandonment of a right-of-way on behalf of the city, then the city would in fact not pay that fee. And so it is more so like a developer or contractor building something for us. But in this particular situation, this is a long-term agreement with them, and they are operating the facilities. We have the incubator space, and so the fee for the abandonment is applicable. And then briefly, I did have to, I did step off the dais, and representatives from Found Care said that they are okay with conceding to the fee of $65,000 that is provided for the ordinance. So this item can still go forward with the understanding that they would have to pay the fee that's provided in the ordinance. But that's where the issue came as it relates to the interpretation that we had the opportunity to chat briefly about.
And just to follow up on that, Mr. Evans, we're just going off of the whereas, and it just says that Found Care is seeking approval and request of abandonment, and that Found Care is proposing this item. So I understand, I'm not sure where that interpretation of this being city-owned, maybe that it's known that it's city-owned and we're leasing it, but Found Care is making this application based upon this documentation.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I
Mr.
believe
Evans.
the application as it was received was an application on behalf of, as they are constructing the property on
No,
city.
I agree, and I recall the application, but I'm just talking about the ordinance that we're voting on. And as it reads here is why I couldn't support it, in addition to the fact that we can't continue to waive fees. So I'm glad that the applicant has conceded to that. I think that we can proceed if we're going to be in support for second reading, that the applicant will be inclined to paying the fee. Okay?
We are going to vote on it tonight.
We can, because the applicant has caucused with Mr. Evans. They will have this brought back and being clear that the fee will be accepted to be paid by the applicant. Okay? Any additional comments from the board? Madam Clerk.
Councilperson Miller Anderson.
Yes.
Councilperson McCoy.
Yes.
Councilperson Botel.
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Lanier. Chair Lawson.
Yes.
That's a unanimous vote.
Chair.
Mr. Chair.
Councilwoman Pro Temp Lanier.
Yeah, I think that this, I don't know what we need to do to ensure that this doesn't happen again, because I had no idea. And what else have we voted on or allowed to not be paid? And, you know, the land is one thing, but the other parts of getting it developed is something else. I mean, the applicant has conceded, but we need to have something in place to ensure that any developer, whether it be nonprofit or whether it be for profit, that these fees apply.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Hold on, Mr. Evans, 1 second. Ms. Miller Anderson, can Mr. Evans go ahead and respond to that? Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Evans.
Yes, Mr. Chair. With respect to that particular item, you know, you have to reconcile it against the ordinance that the board did adopt to effectively make sure that there is a fee, a privilege fee that is paid when the city does in fact abandon any right-of-way in the city. So this is the first situation where this has arose to this point. Every other situation since the adoption of the ordinance, Director Sermons and staff have brought forward the privilege fee that is paid as a result of that. And so that was a policy that was adopted by this board. Previous to that, the city never received any concessions with regards to that. The other thing, you know, in most entities that I've been a part of, that privilege fee is common but it is more common when there is actually infrastructure in the ground. With this particular right-of-way that is being abandoned, it's unimproved right-of-way. So it shows where the city contemplated at one point to cut a street through, but in fact, that street was never in fact developed. So it is right now unimproved right-of-way. So there's no infrastructure that the city had installed there. It's, part of the property. So I just wanted to make sure to clarify that for the record. In other cases, when this has come forward, in most of those cases, it has been where there is infrastructure that is there or investments that the city has made to build infrastructure that is in fact being vacated.
Ms. Miller Anderson?
I was just going to find out from the board in terms of 9F. Is this something we need to do tonight? I know we do want to finish with the 11B since we talked about that earlier, but I know the parking is something that we've been talking about for a while, and I don't want us to have to rush through that tonight. So I just want to see where everyone's thoughts are right now with that. Are we still committed to finishing the entire agenda and not skimming over the presentation for the parking?
No, I'm sorry, Chair.
Go ahead.
I agree with the issue in terms of the parking, because that's a big issue. It's been on the table for a long time. But Mr. Sermons, 11B, is that something that was a part of an ordinance that now you're looking for a resolution for?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
So Sherman's, go ahead.
Yes, the ordinance that passed earlier this evening on second reading essentially designates all of the permit fees to a resolution, and this is that resolution. So staff would recommend that we adopt it so that all the fees are in place.
Oh, okay, we can do, for my say so, we can do 11, we can put 11B and vote on that. But in terms of the parking, that is a big issue, real big. And if we're talking about charging for parking, that's even bigger issue. So that's something that we need to have time to be able to discuss and to get information about. So I would be willing to put that on the next agenda, but go ahead and finish out with the fee schedule, because that's what we've agreed to tonight anyway. Yeah.
We have two comments, additional comments from the board in reference to the parking item. Councilwoman Botel.
Would agree if we could put the parking off for another evening and get finished with 11B, that would probably be a good way to move.
And I know that we had a lot of questions in the parking. I would love for us to try to get through it, but because it's been a long night already. Mr. Evans, how long is this presentation? I know we pulled aside that it's going to be kind of detailed, and I don't want to rush through it.
Mr. Chair, if I may, the honest answer is probably at least a good hour in just the staff presentations, let alone.
Yeah.
But one of the things that, we can certainly look to place that item on the agenda for your next regular meeting for first reading, if that is the pleasure of the board. The other thing that the board can do, and I don't know if you wanted to add, you do have on the 31st, you have a workshop on the Marina Village, specifically the Marina Event Center. If you wanted to utilize some time after that to have even a workshop discussion, that could be an opportunity, because this is, Councilperson McCoy mentioned that the ordinance that you were reviewing is 20 pages. This one is 48 pages, and it has a lot of moving parts associated with it. It's just not the paid for parking. It's also some changes in parking policies and procedures and the like. And so it is a pretty robust conversation.
If we could, board, just follow Mr. Evans' lead in reference to workshopping this, getting that presentation so that when it comes before us in the first meeting in February, that we'll have already had the discussion. So if we can add that as a workshop item.
Question.
Go ahead, Councilwoman Miller-Anderson.
So weren't we being asked to have some other meeting that night as well?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Mr. Evans, go ahead.
Yes, we were, but the responses that we got from board members, it was that because that's such a substantive public policy item, a lot of board members weren't going to be able to make some of those, make that meeting, but, you know, it was that they would show up late. But they thought that the public would be here late into the evening because that meeting probably wouldn't start till 8 o'clock. And then you talk about it, and then, you know, you probably won't start discussing that particular item till 10. And board members did not want to schedule it like that. So the parking discussion is obviously just you all as the board having the conversation.
So this item, we are going to move or table this to the first meeting in February. We will workshop this on the 31st to discuss the item, possibly get a full presentation, have discussion items, and then possibly vote on that for February. If we do that, would we just make sure that it's properly noticed and prepared for the February meeting?
Yes, Mr. Chair, what we'll do is we'll notice and we'll get all the agenda items queued up for the February 1st meeting in February. And then any direction that we get from the board at that workshop on the 31st, if we can't make it in time or it's substantive in nature, we'll make sure that that's cured by the second and final reading for the parking ordinance.
Thank you. All right, 11B.
Did we dispose of E?
The
right of way.
what did we do?
No, we didn't. We need to dispose of that.
We didn't vote yet.
We didn't. They
We
agreed
didn't-
to the
did we-
65, so.
Madam Clerk, did we vote on E? Yes, we voted on it.
Oh,
We did, yes.
Yeah, we
Okay,
did. Yeah, we did.
okay.
Yeah, we did. Once they said they were going to pay the fee. All right, last item, 11B.
Item 11B, Resolution 14-24, resolution of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, establishing a schedule of building permit, review, and other related fees and charges pursuant to Chapter 22, Building and Building Regulations, Article 2, Building and Technical Codes, Section 22-33, Schedule of Permit Fees of the City of Riviera Beach Code of Ordinances, and Chapter 163 Florida Statutes to be effective on February 1st, 2024. Mr. Chair, we have one public comment card on this item. The acceptance of cards is closed.
Second.
Motion been made and properly second. Madam Clerk, let the record reflect Councilman McCoy has left the dais at 10:41 p.m. Mr. Evans.
Mr. Chair and members of the board, if I can have the Director of Development Services, Mr. Clarence Sermons, to make this presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Mr. Chair, members of council, this item was referenced earlier in the evening through the accompanying ordinance that reframed how we handle the fees associated with the Florida Building Code. This resolution would adopt the attached fee schedule, which adds some fees that did not previously exist, but largely the majority of our fee schedule would remain intact. Myself and Building Official Grimm are here if there are any questions.
Public comment card, please.
Mary Brand.
No public comments?
Ms. Brand.
Riviera Beach, I know we're gonna go ahead on and adopt these because we've already workshopped all of these amendments to be codified, and we need a resolution, so this is just closing everything out. And I must say something, because I think that she belongs to this department and stuff too. Ms. Sharon Bostic, that was hired in 1989. She's retiring February the 9th. So in that department, I believe she's in that department. We do wish her well from the planning code and all of those departments that she has served faithfully in the city since 1989. February the 9th would be her retirement date, and we wish her the very, very best. And the department will continue to survive and carry on. And thank you all for getting us where we need to get at in the city. updating these laws and these codes that we have been so antiquated. The city has been antiquated for years in bringing us to where we need to get to do the things that we need to do. So, Ms. Brown, say thank you. And my voice is very loud and clear for everybody from Riviera Beach all over the county, because this is who Ms. Brown is. She don't just dialogue business here. She dialogues business everywhere for the good of your city, as well as for the residents and how we move things. That's more impressive with people than when we get up here and we speak. But they look at how we move things. Are we moving things in the city? So hopefully these are steps that we will take. Thank you all again. Happy New Year. And I still got a couple minutes. Oh, and I just want to say, do not be perplexed about not taking care of your business. Last week or so, you all were in Tallahassee for the governmental day or whatever that was. And that was a week. And then it was prior to the holidays and Christmas and all of that. So we must do the city business no matter what time it is, what hours it is. We have to conduct the business. So if we have to stay here 12 o'clock and 1 o'clock, I've been in meetings, I've been in here meetings, 12 o'clock and 1 o'clock, because we have to do the business at hand. And when you all have to do things, you all have to do those things as well. So let's continue to do the business of the city and never of our own. And whatever time it takes, let us do it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Additional comments from the board? Ms. Sermons, thank you for your work tonight. You did an amazing job. You pretty much carried most of the agenda for that ordinances. So we will be reconvening soon, but thank you so much, Madam Clerk. And thank you as well, Mr. Graham.
Councilperson Botel?
Yes.
Councilperson Miller Anderson?
Yes.
Councilperson McCoy? Chair Pro Tem Lanier?
Yes.
Chairperson Lawson?
Yes.
That vote passes with Councilperson McCoy out.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sermons, Mr. Grimm, especially Ms. Grace. You do a wonderful job. Excellent work. Thank you so much for your support of the city and making sure that we change these codes to fit the new millennia.
Discussion, deliberation, discussion by city manager.
Yes, Mr. Chair. First and foremost, I want to thank all the city staff that participated in making the MLK Day Parade special. We got a lot of positive remarks from folks in the community. And so that was a lot of time, energy, and effort that went in from all different departments and staff. So thank you to the staff and thank you to the board for the support, and to the seniors that stole the show with their dancing. That was pretty impressive. So again, we're glad that our community was able to get together in fellowship on Dr. King, to celebrate Dr. King's life and legacy. On January 22nd, which is Monday, at the Lindsay Davis Center, which is 1550 West 28th Street, at 6 p.m., 6 to 8 p.m., there will be our first kickoff meeting for the general obligation bonds. This board approved, authorizing going forward and asking the voters to consider 3 projects that will be up for the voters to vote on in March 19th of 2024. Those 3 projects are funding $55 million for the master plan for the recreation facilities, $25 million for the Fire Station 86, which is the fire station on Singer Island, and then $35 million for a police department for the Riviera Police Department. And so we will be having informational sessions, and that first meeting will be our first meeting, but there will be subsequent meetings that will be occurring. Also, if there's any civic associations, HOAs, persons that are interested, that are willing to entertain me in their living room or anywhere that they have a group of people, I have no problem making myself available to educate and inform the voters of the bond items that you will have before you. Staff is going to be providing some information, and so please visit our website for information concerning the general obligation bonds, and then we'll also put some information that's a crawl on Channel 18 and on YouTube with respect to what we're doing to educate and inform the community concerning those general obligation bonds. But we do have a presentation that we'll be sharing with the community. And also we'll be going to having some lunch and learn sessions at some local businesses and educating and informing our employees as well. Also on January 24th from 2 to 4 p.m., it's a developer and local business workshop where we're going to talk about the opportunities here in Riviera Beach, specifically with the public solicitation that's going to go out concerning the City Hall facility. So we're excited for that particular meeting, and that's going to be here at the Marina Event Center. Again, that's January 24th from 2 to 4 p.m., and it's an opportunity for developers and persons that are in the development space, as well as our local businesses, to mingle and meet and understand a little bit about the project before the public solicitation occurs. And so we're excited for that particular opportunity. And Mr. Chair, it was mentioned earlier that Ms. Cheryl Bostic is going to be transitioning into retirement. I had the opportunity to see her, I believe it was today or yesterday. I saw her, and she's counting down the days. She served this community for a very long time, and we're appreciative of her time that she has put into this agency, and she's done a lot of great work in our community. So sad to see her go. So give her a little bit of time off, and then we'll appoint her to an advisory board in the future. So with that being said, that concludes my comments, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Attorney Nguyen?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I have an announcement of a closed executive session. Pursuant to Florida Statute 286.0118D, Public Meetings and Records, and in a desire to obtain advice concerning litigation, I'm requesting approval from council to conduct a closed executive session in the matter of Julie Botel versus City of Riviera Beach, Riviera Beach City Council et al., case number 502023. CA 016265XXXMBAN, to discuss whether the City Council desires to give the City Attorney authority to appeal the court ruling rendered on Wednesday, January 10th, 2024 in the aforementioned case. If you can advise of your availability for this session on tomorrow, Thursday, January 18th, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. Are you all available?
Samba says yes.
But I can swing it.
I can't hear you. I'm sorry, Ms. Lanier.
No, I was saying I am not, but I can figure something out. Tomorrow, what time?
5:30.
Okay.
Mr. Lawson?
I'll be there.
Okay, thank you. Therefore, a closed executive session will be held on the 18th day of January 2024 at 5:30 p.m. at the City of Riviera Beach Public Works Training Room, 1481 West 15th Street, first floor, Riviera Beach, Florida, 33404. Again, in the case of Julie Botel versus City of Riviera Beach City Council et al., case number 502023 CA 016265 XXXXMBAN. And those persons in attendance will be myself, City Attorney Dawn Nguyen, City Manager Jonathan Evans, the Honorable Mayor Ronnie Felder, and members of the City Council for the City of Riviera Beach and a court reporting agency authorized to do business in the state of Florida. The subject matter of the closed executive session will be restricted to whether the City Council desires to give the City Attorney authority to appeal the court ruling rendered on Wednesday, January 10th, 2024 in this case. Thank you.
Madam Attorney,
Yes, sir.
we did have a discussion. Have you had a chance to debrief with all of the board?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We can go ahead and do the closed session, have the discussion. I believe we're just looking for clear direction, being that you've got a chance to debrief, if we want to give our city attorney authority to proceed. Do we want to just make a motion and have to avoid the closed session? Do we want to just decide that now and move forward? The concern is from city attorneys, if we're going to be going to a appellate court to appeal the case. So instead of wasting time to go to a closed session tomorrow, do we want to just proceed with a discussion, a vote, and proceed and move forward?
That's totally up to you all. You can have the closed session. I have briefed you. You can decide now to give me the authority and vote on it, but that's up to you all.
No, I'd like to hear more about it.
Okay. Absolutely. So I agree with one of my colleagues. I would prefer having all the information before we take a vote so that can be clear, a clear direction. This is a very difficult discussion, so we will have the closed session tomorrow, 5:30.
Thank you.
Thank you. Committee reports? None? Well, see, yeah, grab Julie real quick. No? I got a little give a committee reports, Doc.
Oh, sorry. You missed me.
You know she got a committee. Come on, let her know. Let her-
I attended the January 12th Palm Beach North Chamber Government Affairs Committee meeting. And then I only have one, if I can just go ahead.
Please.
The town hall meeting for tomorrow night will not be in the Ambassador Center on Singer Island. It will be here in the event center because we had such an overwhelming response. We have about 120 people coming, so it's a hot topic. We're talking about beach erosion and derelict boats. So the meeting will be here and not on Singer Island, and that's all I have. Oh, 6 o'clock. Thank you.
Pro Tem. Comments from the mayor?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I want to take a moment and address my recent request for a formal investigation into the culture and practices of city government. According to the city charter, I have the right to investigate the departments and operations of our city. A few weeks ago, I made a decision to exercise that right, and I emailed my colleagues informing them of my intent to do so. Unfortunately, this has prompted a lot of speculation about why I decided to do so, and even some false accusations about my motives by media and residents. So let me clear all that up for everyone now. A few years ago, I started being contacted by a few current and former employees from various departments with information regarding unfair treatment, bias practices, and the overall hostile work environment. Over time, these complaints grew in number and will continue to lose what I would consider some good employees. However, over the past 6 months, the amount of complaints that I have received regarding these same issues just could no longer be ignored. And at the time, I started looking into what I could do with my capacity as mayor to investigate the credibility of these complaints before forming a conclusion to bring to my colleagues. That is how I came to conducting this formal investigation. I want to be clear, this investigation has absolutely nothing to do with our city manager, Mr. Evans. This has nothing to do with the bond referendum. This has nothing to do with any of my colleagues or the upcoming elections. This is solely, and I mean solely, about our city employees and their right to work in an environment that provides them with the resources to carry out their duties and is free from hostility. Yes, I have received a number of phone calls I have not returned regarding this investigation, but I felt the best way to address it be here in front of everyone so you will all get the same information at the same time. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mayor. And just to really quick comment on that, it was discouraging that immediately after the email, within minutes, I was getting phone calls about that email. And I think that we have to just be honest and transparent. And Mayor, I just thank you for clarifying that on the record without it being perceived and expectations set by one or another. So thank you, Mayor, for what you do. Ms. Melanson. Councilwoman Lanier.
Yes. On the Housing Authority and the city's joint venture at the Alpha property or the Judge Rogers property. I bring this up because it came to my attention during the Found Care presentation that some of the issue may have been the retention pond. So I want to be clear because when we had this conversation about the Housing Authority and this project in December, it was supposed to, at least at this point, or by the end of January, we said, it should be something that has been hammered out and we're moving forward. So I need to know where we are with this and what issues are holding us up to be able to complete this process by the end of the month.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Ms. Evans, go ahead.
With regards to the found care item and the Alpha property, it's not necessarily the same, and staff did kind of speak out of turn with respect to that. With that particular project, you have a dry detention area that is also coupled with the Boys and Girls Club property and as well, and has a permit from SwiftMud, South Florida Water Management District, for the purposes of providing for the capacity. We've had very productive conversations, and we have discussed what some of the concerns that we have with regards to the surplus of that property. And we did communicate that we are moving towards the surplus of that particular property, but it is multifaceted. And originally, when the item did come before this board, I did say that there may be two different phases. Phase one, the 11 properties, the 11 single-family properties are making good speed, and those items should be resolved here in the next week or two as it relates to those being declared a surplus. But in order to effectively surplus that property, realize that we have to also ensure that there's no adverse impact to the Boys and Girls Club as it relates to drainage and how we work towards that. And the engineers ultimately need to concede and sign off on that, because ultimately the calculations, if there's an issue concerning flooding or what have you, they're the ones that have to have their sign and seal on that. So we have communicated that to the Housing Authority, that we are working towards that particular project has a couple of more moving parts towards it, and we are working towards it. But there is no deviation from what the board has articulated to staff as its intent to effectively surplus that. We are working, and we do have standing meetings with them where we give updates on the progress that is occurring. And if you would like more specificity concerning that, I have no problem scheduling an appointment with the team to give you some greater understanding of, some of the items that were provided concerning that particular property.
Yes, I understand that, and I understand that there are moving parts, but I'm trying to figure out how and when those parts are going to be done, because this is a project that the entire board, the majority of the board, agreed that we would move forward with this, and that we would move forward at a pace that was hopefully in the best interest of the city, of course. But we don't want to get bogged down with things that are not needed, or if somebody don't want to do something, or whatever the case may be. Because, I don't want this to be a situation where we're at year number 7 as we do the marina, about having these conversations about these projects moving forward, because they just are not. And I just want to make sure that this project is moving forward just like everything else. So please schedule that meeting with me so that we can discuss this and we can move this forward.
Thank you, Pro Tem. And I just want to thank everyone that came out on Monday to the Restoring the Village, my 4th annual event with the city. And it was an amazing event. We had a great turnout, great support from the community. And it was just awesome to see our staff playing along with the residents. I agree, Mr. Evans, if we can get an update, if you could schedule with me as well, an update for just the conveying of the land so we can proceed with moving that forward as well. No further business. This meeting is adjourned.
No, dog, no, don't look at me. I do that. That was you. How, Sway? That was your boy. That's Pretty Ricky over there. He done said this all agenda.
Oh, sure. Hey,